What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your boy, Clint. It is Monday night. It's our favorite night of the week, and we are coming off of a break. This week is even better than normal. Last week we had our show, but it's just hollow. It's just a little empty without actually having a UFC card to break down. Not this week. We're back in full swing. We've got a big card to talk about, and just in time for a big card, everybody, I have a big guest, and I don't want to waste anybody's time here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring the man himself right on in. You may know him from Barstool Sports. We got Big Ev. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me. This is a blast, man. I know we were talking a little bit before the show, kind of me giving you a little background as this MMA guy who I think people have now in the Barstool would have known me. I do Pick Central every day. Our daily show on YouTube used to be on XM Radio. I know it goes to a bunch of local radio stations around the country. I've kind of been the token MMA guy on the show, or at least the guy who knows MMA at least a little bit on the show. So I just love it, man. The last 4 or 5 years, I've just become absolutely obsessed with it. My roommates here right now, they literally see me watching one TV, which is the football game or baseball, whatever, the other TV, just watching old fights, doing all the research I can on all the fights. Fighters, trying to just gain all the knowledge I possibly can. I've just become a diehard MMA guy the last 4 or 5 years, and I just love talking about fights, man. I said it to you before. There's two sides of it where I think I'm just a bloodthirsty American like everyone else, where there's nothing more exciting in sports. I really, as somebody who's been a football fan, basketball, everything, there is nothing more exciting in sports than watching a grown man take another grown man's consciousness with his fists. But I think there's all layers to where I've developed such an appreciation for all the different aspects of the jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, just all the different aspects of it and the way that it plays into the matchups and just how fights play out. So I'm excited to talk some fights, man. Like I said, it's crazy. I haven't missed a card or the Contender Series in a long time. It's crazy how spoiled we've gotten the last couple of years that now just used to having cards every single week. You don't have one. You're like,
dude, I love it.
Thankfully for me, I'm such a football guy. I was glad that college football's back. So next Saturday, I was all good. The TV screens were full, but I'm excited for some MMA for sure.
I love it. I'm a complete degenerate. I love hockey. I love football. Those are my two favorite mainstream sports outside of, MMA. And you talked about it. I got started when I first started gambling and first started betting. It was when there was one card a month, man. And that was torture to go 2, 3, 4 weeks without having a fight to watch. And you touched on it, man. MMA, there's something about fighting. It's built into us. And even with football or with hockey, there's a reason the game stops when people start punching each other. We all want to watch some violence. And I love that now we've got a unified rule set, and it's there so that people can do it safely and we can enjoy it from an entertainment aspect. I'm pumped up, man, and I'm glad to have you on the show. First off, thank you very much for coming on and joining us tonight.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I'm just excited, man. Like I said, I will defer to you on some of the knowledge and I like to approach it from a betting standpoint, but I've just become such a fan. To me, it doesn't matter lower level, higher level. I'm a guy now. I'm watching every Bellator card, all the PFL cards. It's just awesome, man. It's just such an exciting sport. I think a big part of it is, especially from a gambling perspective, I think Ryan Hall, when he fought recently, I think he put out perfectly that it's such a volatile sport when it comes to gambling because it's not like a football game where I think listen, teams lose that should win and win that should lose, blah blah blah. But in fighting, it's so crazy the way if you do one fight and whatever outcome happens. But if you do that fight 100 times, it could go a million different directions.
It's so crazy.
So many different things can happen on a given night or just whatever. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, though.
Yeah,
that you see
it's hard. It's hard to bet, though, man.
So hard. I genuinely believe it's one of the hardest. Maybe if not the hardest. Because you can handicap it perfectly right, but guy just gets hit on that sweet spot in the chin or gets caught in that wrong position or just makes one wrong move and bang, done, fight over.
Dude, I've been trying. I'm glad you came on and you said that because I've been saying that to my audience for a long time. The analogy I like to use is in baseball. If you get a guy, if you're down 5-0, bottom of the ninth, and you hit a dinger and it's out of the park, it's still 5-1. Your team is still in the hole. You're not coming back. In MMA, if you hit that home run dinger, if you get that spot right on the chin, it's over. You've won the fight. It doesn't matter that guy will kick your ass 9 out of 10 times. Tonight you slipped on the banana peel. Tonight they got you on the button, and that's it. It's done.
No, that's honestly, I've never thought about even like, that's a great analogy. Even like this, like you said, I was like, oh, that's literally like, it's like being a football game up like 35-0 in the fourth quarter, and the team scores 1 touchdown and they just win. That literally is like how volatile it is. It really is. It's crazy.
It's nuts. Speaking of football here, we got a friendly donation from a viewer of the show. I hate to do it to you, man, but I gotta put it up on the live chat. Love you.
Right. I trust you. I was in Ann Arbor this weekend. I was taking it all Saturday long. I've lived through it.
Oh, man. All right, dude. So I don't want to waste any of your time. We're super stoked to have you on the show. Obviously, there's Monday Night Football tonight and a pretty decent-sized card for us to chop on through. So let's start working through this fight. I do want to say one thing real quick before we get started, man. For everybody watching the show, we've already got 79 live viewers. Usually we get upwards of like 200, 250 in that ballpark. We're doing a giveaway tonight, folks, and not just a giveaway for the Die Hard merch or T-shirts. We're doing a cash giveaway. The boss man Slaughter here at Pub Sports Radio has decided to celebrate Big Ev hanging out with us tonight, that if we hit 200 likes on YouTube live during the show, we will give away 3 people $100 cash prize. So make sure you hit that retweet button on Twitter, get as many eyes on this show as you can, and if you haven't already, smash the like button, because when we get up to 200, we will be giving away some cash this evening.
That's awesome. Love that.
I'm pumped, man. Okay, the boss man jumps in on all the live, the mainstream shows, baseball, football. They're doing cash giveaways all the damn time, and I'm like, we're here every Monday, man. No, we get the cash giveaway on this show tonight. All right, man. So, hey, first fight of the night. Let's just jump straight on into this bad boy. We have got Emily Spitfire Whitmire taking on Corey McKenna, and actually, I had this thing down. Apparently, she was supposed to fight. They didn't update this, did they? She's fighting Hannah Goldy. Sorry about that. My notes are backwards. She's fighting Hannah Goldy now. She was fighting Corey McKenna. McKenna dropped out. So, Hannah Goldy, I've talked about her before on the show, Big Ev. If you don't remember seeing this chick, she is a tank of a woman. Like, she is absolutely jacked. I would never want to be in a grappling situation with this woman. And she's been training with one of my absolute favorite fighters, Jillian Robertson, who's got just a nasty, nasty ground game. So she's going to be covered in that area in a way that she probably hasn't been previously. Hannah Goldy does have a snappy head kick. She uses her kick kind of like a jab almost. She just sticks her foot out there quick. So a lot of people don't see it coming, and she scores with it pretty often. She's got kind of a point fighting karate style, but she is crazy strong and hard to control. Emily Whitmire is a very good wrestler. Her striking, it's come a long way recently, but it's still a work in progress. She likes to attack the legs of her opponents, but she really relies on that grappling. The fact of the matter is, Emily Whitmire is a 500 fighter. She had a 500 amateur record. She went 1-1 on the Ultimate Fighter when she was there, and now she's 4-4 as a professional. So she's just not going to be that elite talent or ever get to the point where she goes, nutso and breaks through and becomes a star. I think we've kind of seen almost the best version of Whitmire that we're going to get. She's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. And I think the only interesting thing that I can add to that outside of like the physical things is that apparently Emily's grandmother has flown out to watch this fight in person. So maybe just a tidbit of extra motivation for her there. We've got Emily Whitmire, a -120 favorite, the comeback on Hannah Goldy, a +100 dog. And man, it's so hard for me. I always want to have action on the first night fight of the night. There's something about kicking the night off with something to bet on. And I wanted to actually bet Emily Whitmire against Corey. I thought she was going to have enough of a grappling advantage that she could do something with it. But she is not taking down Hannah Goldy. And with Hannah Goldy working with my girl Jillian, I don't know that she's going to have any success grappling if she even were to get a takedown. And if this thing is standing, output is Goldy. And I think the power, the strength, everything is Goldy. I kind of digging the +100 dog here, man. Do you have any kind of an opinion on this first fight of the night?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all know what's with the kind of matchup like that. I think especially with how like different their skill sets are. I mean, you're gonna know pretty quickly if she's unable to take her down, she's gonna be in big trouble. Because I think for fights like these where you don't have like a crazy amount of exposure, I try to look at like a little bit of their UFC experience and kind of like the background. Like I kind of like what the guys commented. I think usually with like MMA, especially women's, like sometimes it can be so hard. Like they can be such like coin flip fights, and here you see that with the odds. Like I feel like I like to try to go after ones where you see kind of like a big, like maybe one side's plus 200 or plus 180. I'm like, oh, like you know what? I still think this fight's a coin flip. Like give me the dog, like to take some action. But like it's a coin flip fight. Obviously, that's the odds makers think as well. So yeah. I mean, I would definitely lean towards what you're going and go with Goldy and just think that she's strong enough to kind of like just keep off those takedowns, and if she keeps it standing, I mean, she should win the fight.
I couldn't agree more, man. And I think a lot of people are going to kind of lean towards the grappling of Whitmire. We know that the grappling is a huge part of MMA, and if you can get the grappling going, you know, you're just a monster in there. Yeah. If you can always get your takedowns, if you can always get top control, I think Hannah Goldy's just going to be simply too strong for her. So early dog or pass situation for me, first fight of the night. I got to give a shout out to our guy with the $20 donation here. We be pubbing, don't ask, don't tell, always in the chat. What's up, buddy? Thank you for hanging out with us this evening. All right. So we have got our first fight in the books, and we're already picking dogs, which is definitely fun when it comes to mixed martial arts. Next up, we have got Gustavo Lopez taking on Heili Alateng. And this was the first bet that I made on the entire card, man. I do have to go ahead and apologize to everybody watching this show, because the last time Gustavo Lopez fought, I made maybe one of the worst bets of my entire betting life. I bet this man when he fought the hottest prospect in the division, and very, very predictably, he lost by knockout to Adrian Yanez. And everyone was mocking me for the pick, and it's one of those ones that in hindsight, I didn't have an excuse. I was like, yeah, I kind of don't know what I was thinking there. So I have a bit of an unhealthy attachment to Gustavo Lopez. He's one of these Mexican warrior spirits, though, dude. He comes in, he hits hard, he's got killer instinct, he will be more than willing to go out on his shield. He brings the fire, he brings the fight, he flurries when he's got people hurt. He's got a very underrated ground game. I like this kid. I just love watching his fight. I like what he brings to the table. And taking on Heili Alateng, this is a kid with a very intelligent, pawing, range-finding jab. He does load up a bit on his right hand, but when it lands, he hurts people when that thing hits. He does carry his hands a little bit low, kind of dissuading the takedowns. He seems to be a little bit hittable, but he's a really strong wrestler. That's the thing people kind of forget about Heili Alateng, is that he can seal rounds with takedowns. He can get that last takedown with 30, 40 seconds left in the round and etch it, get that last little bit on the judges' scorecards. The problem is, he likes striking so much, you can't really rely on him to grapple. The big thing I like about Heili Alateng, though, is he is durable as fuck, man. This guy is hard to put away. So even if he decides to go to war, he will stand toe-to-toe with you for the entire fight. And he had both Dana Batgarel, a prospect I am super high on, and Ryan Benoit. He had them both crazy hurt in his fights with them, was this close to getting knockouts in both those spots. And now he has moved to my favorite MMA gym on the planet, man. Fight Ready, right out here in Arizona. If you don't know, Ev, they trained Henry Cejudo. Like, they're working with guys of that caliber, and they've got the good stuff. I don't know what they do to these guys, but they put them on something. They do these before and after photos, and when they start camp from when they finish camp, there's a massive difference in what these fighters look like when they go to Fight Ready. I'm not accusing anybody. There's no, but if I put my tinfoil hat on, they've got the secret sauce there. So I always add just a little bit extra interest when someone moves over to Fight Ready. So I did bet Heili Alateng here in this spot. I got him at minus 125, and I went ahead and put 2.5 units to win 2 on Heili Alateng, just because I think he's going to be the cleaner fighter of the two. I think he's the more durable. He's got the wrestling advantage, and working out of a camp like Fight Ready, we're going to see improvements from him. I'm not sure we can say the same thing of Gustavo Lopez, so I'm going to take the fighter I think has the higher ceiling and the better camp.
No, I love the pick. See, with Lopez, listen, I don't blame. Listen, you get catch a fight with Adrian Yanez. I mean, it's That's that's tough. He got thrown to the wolves a little bit. That's one of those guys where probably at the time he fights him, you're not realizing Adrian Yanez is Adrian Yanez. And then
it was a show me moment, man.
That loss, that's one of those. In that moment, it might have felt bad, but going back in time a little bit, going to the future, not a bad loss. The guy's a legit contender.
Absolutely.
So I mean, no, I love the play. I mean, he's a slight favorite. I mean, you sold me. I mean, I'm definitely in on it.
Okay, fair enough. I will take it. Yeah, man, Adrian Yanez, my guy. Shout out to my buddy Rockstar Z on Twitter. I did not hear the end of that one. He changed his handle to Yanez Stan for a while after that kid went on his most recent run. So
especially his last fight, man. I mean, Costa had him dead to rights. I thought after that first round. I mean,
dude,
Yanez is a warrior, man. That guy. We could see him fighting for a belt in the future potentially. I mean,
I think we will.
I think he's real deal. At least getting towards that top 10 for sure. I think he's definitely got that potential.
Absolutely. And dude, his durability, the beating that he took to be able to dig deep and come back from that the way he did, I know we're supposed to be breaking down this week, but Yanez is a beast.
Well, I think it's not to get too much on it. Just in that first round, it was like Costa was just so much faster than him. Yeah. Remember, I had bet Yanez, and I was very concerned. I was like, he's fat. I was like, I don't know how you just all of a sudden go from the slower guy to the faster guy and just in a round, but somehow he figured it out. It was unbelievable.
He's always a slow starter, man. He cranks it up. I love that pressure cooking style where it's like I might start a little slow, but you won't be able to hang with me come rounds 2 and 3. I love when guys do that.
So I just never that first round. He was just eating jab, and I was like, oh my god, this is bad. And then he found something, man. He's a beast.
I love that kid. All right. So we got an early play here on Heili Alateng. And just so everybody in the chat knows, trying to be respectful of my guy Big Ev's time here, we're going to move the show along a little bit. I have been known to talk about MMA until I'm blue in the face, and the show will be 3 hours if I don't try to hustle us along. So we're going to keep this thing rolling. If you're new to the show or if you just tuned in, we got 128 live viewers. We've got Big Ev from Barstool hanging out with us tonight. And if we hit 200 likes on the show live over the course of the show, we will be giving out 3 $100 prizes to anybody here tuning in, watching. So smash that like button if you haven't. Next fight up, we have got Impa Kasanganay taking on Carlston Harris. And this is a weird one for me, man. Impa is 9-1, and he's one of those fighters that absolutely everybody has just been raving about. And I've been a little hesitant to get behind him. Carlston Harris is new to the UFC. He's kind of the new kid on the block, the new flavor. And it almost seems like the UFC is pulling one of those old hype versus new hype type of situations here. You know, Impa just got on someone else's highlight reel. Yeah. And Carlston just came into the UFC and just wrecked his opponent. That it's like, okay, so you were pumped up about this guy. Now you're pumped up about this guy. Let's see which one has, a real future in the organization. The thing I like about Impa is he's extremely intelligent. This guy is so freaking smart. And you can just, when he talks, you can hear his brain, his levels above your own. And the way he approaches the game, I think that's a huge weapon towards his side, just because he's going to make changes, he's going to adjust. He doesn't get stuck in a rut. He's always thinking outside the box. He's got great footwork. He's calm. He's patient. He's got a little bit of a point striking style, but he's a monster, man. Like, he hurts people. He has no knockouts on his record, and I'm not sure how or why, because he's got crazy physique. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is solid muscle, and you can tell when he hits people, it hurts. He just hasn't quite found the button on anybody yet. He's got a 63% takedown defense, and that's kind of the thing that's concerning here for me, because Carlston, this dude is tall, he's long, and he's a chain wrestler. He is a grapple type of fighter. He's going to have a size advantage, and he just smothers people against the fence. He gets a standing body lock. He's willing to ride them up against the cage. And when he eventually does get them to the ground, he's got nasty submissions. He's got these crazy, lanky, long arms that lets him sync up like Darce chokes, and he catches people in rolls and shit like that. So, like, he is always a threat the second this thing hits the ground. And then on the feet, he swings for the fences, because he is not afraid of going to the ground. If you shoot under his big overhand, he's fine wrestling at that point. So he's gonna go hard on the feet and then just look to get it to the mat. This is another extremely closely lined fight, man. We have got Kasanganay as a Kasanganay is a minus 130 favorite. Carlton Harris as a plus 110 underdog. And oh my gosh, like I'm having such a hard time here. I feel like maybe if Kasanganay like extends this guy, if he gets him out of that first round where he's dry and dangerous, then maybe he can kind of take over and get the win. But the takedown defense for Impa just makes me massively concerned because I could see Harris riding that body lock, grinding him against the fence, and then just kind of wet blanketing him for a full 15 minutes and saying that we have another live dog here, man. Do you have any type of a feel on this fight?
So I like Harris, and to me, it's not like a knock on Impa because I actually have a lot of respect for Impa, the way he responded from. I mean, when you end up on the receiving end of like probably the most viral knockout maybe of all time, you could make an argument, and the clear knockout of the year.
Yeah,
you wouldn't fault a guy for having a little psyche issues, like not being able to respond well. He responded well. He comes back, wins a fight. But I just think Harris is going to be a handful for him. Like you said, like his first fight just came through, just ran right through his opponent. He's a big guy. He's got a lot more fights in MMA. He got the experience advantage. So I like him as a live dog here. I just think I think you kind of handicapped it perfectly. Like I think if he can win an ugly fight, he can win kind of like a firefight. I don't think it's going to end up being a firefight, but I think he has multiple routes of victory here. Like you said, whether he can just get him on the ground or he's able to get that takedown, get a submission. And so, I mean, I like Harris here as the dog.
Okay, fair enough, man. I'm right there with you. I think it's another dog or pass spot. The line is close, so it's not like a sexy dog or anything like that, and it's close for a reason. But I do think at the end of the day, we're still in the apex, right? We're in the small cage.
Yep.
That always favors the grapplers. It's going to be that much easier to pin this man against the fence and get those takedowns. So, yeah, man, I think if I'm this is a pick show, so I got to give a pick. Harris is going to be the side I think that I'll go with. I'm not sure I'm going to get to the betting window with this one, but I do think that's the side I'd look at.
Oh yeah, I mean, at the end, this is another one of those. It's still kind of a coin flip fight. I mean, I lean Harris just because I think he has more ways to get it done, but it's a coin flip fight. Obviously, the odds makers saying that for themselves. So I mean, that's how I feel about it.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I couldn't agree more. I'm glad we're syncing up on that one for sure. All right, man. Next fight up that we have to talk about here, ladies' fight night. Erin Blanchfield taking on Sarah Alpar. Blanchfield is 6-1. Alpar is 9-5, and this is really a showcase. Blanchfield is one of these young studs that is just the future of the sport, and the UFC is really trying to give her, a nice solid leg up here to her career. She's coming to us from Invicta, where her only professional loss is a split decision to Tracy Cortez, who's already in the UFC and an absolute monster at that. She's a BJJ brown belt. I actually think that just got upgraded to black belt, so I need to correct that in my notes here. She's got really basic striking, but she's got a hard 1-2 and underrated power for the women's division. She has beautiful trip takedowns that she likes to use. She works from the headlock if she gets on a front choke or something like that. She drags her opponents down to the mat, and she's a position over submission type of fighter. She's never going to put herself in like a crazy spot where she can get swept, reversed or anything like that. She's always going to maintain a top control and just grind out the match intelligently. Everything you're looking for. She checks all the boxes right now, man. She's also going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot. Now, Sarah Alpar, it's her second UFC fight. She won on Dana White's Contender Series, and she lost her first fight in the UFC by TKO and just looked awful. She is a grappling machine herself. She's a chain wrestler that looks for the takedown immediately. And really her only striking credentials come in like the dirty boxing range. She's got decent knees, decent punches in close. But at range, she's a fish out of water. She doesn't know what she's doing on the feet and just swings wildly. And she's the exact opposite of Erin Blanchfield, man. She makes all the positional mistakes. She dives on arms. She falls off of people's backs. Like, she is not the stud grappler that Blanchfield is. I think this line is just going to get brutalized. I know a lot of people don't like laying big chalk on favorites, especially on debuting favorites. and on women. So there's a lot of piling, aspects here. But I'm confident in saying that Erin is probably a parlay piece this week if you're looking for it. She opened up minus 250. She's currently minus 350, and I could see that thing going upwards because I just don't think Sarah Alpar has a path to victory here, man. Do you know anything on this one or have an opinion?
So kind of like what I said earlier, where I said that like when these women's fights, you don't know it's a big dog. They take the dog. I don't think that this isn't one of them. this is just a clear mismatch. I know Alpar's fought at the higher weights before, but I just think this is it's just a tough matchup. Where I think it's a legit prospect versus I'll be nice, like a journeyman at best. I mean, just not like a real contender where Blanchfield's like a real legitimate prospect. That's actually what I was going to say with you as like I think to me, she's a clear parlay piece. I agree 100%. I'm never going to lay minus 300 plus juice with somebody on the money line. Maybe the only time ever done something like that was maybe like a Khabib or an Usman in like the right spot.
Sure.
But even then I still like, I don't love doing it, but I will if I really feel like it's just like such a, like it should be minus like 800 and it's minus 300, but I like it as a parlay piece. It's just, it's a mismatch for sure. It's just not, I agree with that. I just don't see how Alpar pulls something out unless literally Blanchfield gets hurt or something. Knock on wood. I'm not trying to will that into existence.
Yeah, let's not do that. But I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I think she's a solid parlay piece. And shout out to my guy DFS by the numbers here in the chat. Blanchfield inside the distance is plus 285.
I like that.
Man,
definitely
tell me.
Like that.
I love doing the props where you swing the value like that. You've got a minus 350 favorite and you get a plus 285 type of bet. That's a huge swing in the number like that. And honestly, man, I do think she can just absolutely handle Alpar. It's not often I look for women to finish. I wouldn't mind a little taste on that this week.
For sure. Absolutely.
All right. What's up, everybody? We got 161 live viewers. People are rolling in. Don't forget to smash the like and the retweet button so we can get that giveaway going for you later. We are joined by my guy, Big Ev from Barstool, talking UFC Vegas 37. And we got a barn burner coming up next, man. The return of JP Buys. Now, a lot of people may remember the Buys family. They both were on the Dana White Contender Series, made their debut, same night fights. They both lost. It was a big old storyline they built up that backfired in everybody's faces. And now it almost seems like JP may have done something to piss somebody off at the UFC because they have given him Montel Jackson in his next fight. Talk about a big middle finger. I mean, are they just done with this kid? Because who does that?
That's tough. I mean, Jesus. I mean, just the size, just, oh my God. I'm just like, the height, everything. Just, this is another one for me, parlay piece. The guy's minus 650, I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who's 4-2 in the UFC versus the guy who's 0-1, like you said. I mean, it's just tough to see him finding a way to. I just, it's hard for me to visualize him getting this done. Like I just don't see how he does it.
Yeah. I mean, so the only thing for me, man, is I went back and I watched the tape, and I do this religiously, week in, week out. That's what we do. And I watched Montel Jackson's tape, and the only thing that I can take away, he does everything incredible. He's a great wrestler. He's tall, he's long, he's got great Muay Thai, big clinch knees, heavy hands. But he got taken down and smothered by Brett Johns. Now, Brett Johns is a fighter that I'm a huge fan of.
Yep.
I think he's a solid piece that the UFC never should have let go. But, props to him for finding greener pastures. I think he's going to do well. I think he went to Bellator. The big thing here is that JP Buys is good at wrestling. And that was his big thing coming into the Contender Series. That was his wife's thing. They always talk up how good they are at wrestling. And then he came out and he threw down and paid for it. You know what I mean? Like, he came out and got away from his game plan. He went back to his home gym for this one. They tried out a new gym at their last place, at their last fight when they both lost, and now they're going back where they're comfortable. And Mrs. Buys looked incredible in her second fight, man. If you remember, she came out and got that quick, swift knockout, reminding everybody why the UFC was high on her in the first place. This line is getting crazy to me just because, kind of like we talked about before, man, that knockout, that home run opportunity in mixed martial arts, I don't like minus 550s. I don't like minus 600s because you never know once they lock that cage door, what's going to happen. JP Buys is a plus 450 underdog, and the fact that his skill set lines up with the one guy that we saw him lose to recently, I'm like, oh boy, like if just be careful is all I'm saying, guys, because if JP Buys comes out and decides I'm going to wrestle, if he gets in on the hips of Montel Jackson and puts him on his back, this fight could look minus 500 the other direction.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So do you think he's a real live dog? Would you go as far as say that?
It is hard after seeing his last fight to really say he's a live dog. But, man, Montel Jackson, if I'm being honest, his record in the UFC so far has not been that impressive. He fought Andre Sukumtoth, somebody who is not highly touted in the UFC, maybe won't even have a job soon. Felipe Colares, again, another fighter in the UFC who has had a bit of a rough go of it, still unproven. He fought Brett Johns, who was his biggest test to date, and gave him the veteran lesson, the tour of the octagon, if you will. Shout out to my guy, Dan Levy. And then he fought Jesse Strader. And again, he just took that kid out the way that you should take somebody out who doesn't belong in the UFC. So he's fought a real low level of competition so far. And his one notable win, in my opinion, was my boy Brian Boom Kelleher. He choked him out in the first round where they got in a scramble and he caught something with his arms.
Really, really nice kid.
He seems to have problems if he doesn't get an early finish. And if JP Buys comes in and says, I'm going to wrestle this guy, he can win rounds 2 and 3. You know what I mean? If he can get out of round 1 alive, he might be able to get the second and the third. As big fighters, we see them slow down. You know, the gas tank, the weight cut, it drains them. So, man, there's no way I'm laying minus 650. I guess that's all I'm saying. I don't feel confident in JP Buys, so I don't know that I'm necessarily taking the dog, but we'll see where this line goes. Because if it keeps just skyrocketing, if he gets up to, plus 500, plus 600, like, man, I might have to just on principle.
Well, I think you made a good point about Buys getting into kind of making the mistake of getting into a firefight his first time around. Because I think a guy like that, where listen, like we know how the UFC goes. You drop a couple, you might be right back down. So I mean, I could see a guy like him like making that mistake the first time around and saying, "I'm done with that. Like fuck that. Like I'm gonna do what I do best. I'm gonna wrestle." And then all of a sudden he finds Jackson on his back quite a bit. Yep. And like you said, all of a sudden we're sitting there in the third round, and you're going, "Oh, I mean," where like you said, the line's flipped. I could see. I mean, a guy like him, you said his sister it is, right?
Oh, it's his wife. It's his wife.
Right.
Yeah, they're main training partners together, man. It's crazy. But they both have very similar styles, and it's all based around their grappling. And if her fight was anything, if we can base anything off what we saw from her, he's going to come in and look a whole hell of a lot better than he did in his first fight.
He's going to want to match wifey.
Dude. You can't. There's only been one other couple in the UFC. The wife still has a job. The husband doesn't. Like, you can't tell me this guy, like, I love my wife, but I would not be able to come home at the end of the day and be like, all right, like, I got fired from the exact same job that you're doing. And he's going to be fighting his ass off. Like, he's going to be coming out to make sure that he still keeps his job with the UFC.
I think that's a great point you made, just about like him just kind of making that mistake. Because I just don't think you're going to see a guy like that make the same mistake twice. Like he's not going to try and sit there and trade punches with a guy who's much longer in range here. He's going to try to get in there and make it a dirty fight.
And we've seen not once but twice, as someone in the chat brought it up, Ricky Simone, obviously a much higher level fighter than what we've been talking about, but two guys in the UFC so far that have done the exact same thing to Montel Jackson. So the path to victory is there. Man, this is one where a lot of people, they only want to look at the numbers. They only want to look at the stats. I like to check out the fighter's mental state. I like to watch these guys on the way. And in fact, I do a Friday show where I check them out and see how sucked out they look, see if anybody looks like they had a bad weight cut, stuff like that. I'm going to be watching this one closely, because if Montel Jackson looks like he had a bad weight cut, if he misses weight or looks like he's, death on the scales, or if JP Buys comes in talking about wrestling, I might end up taking a dog shot on this one. Call me crazy, but I might take a flyer.
I don't blame. No, I agree with you. This is definitely one. Sit there and just take a little peek, just see what happens with the line. Because even if it stays where it's at, he's 4-1, 5-1. I mean, he might catch a little sprinkle for me.
Doesn't ever hurt. Everybody loves a little sprinkle. All right, man. Let's get this thing going. Dakota Bush taking on Zhu Rong coming up next. We have got Dakota Bush 8-3. Zhu Rong is 17-4. And this is an awesome fight. Both these guys, their second fight, I believe, in the promotion. Dakota Bush made a short notice debut against my guy Hubbard in his last fight and really impressed. He looked phenomenal for a guy coming in on, I think it was like a week's notice or like a couple days notice. He gave Hubbard all he could handle, but it was apparent that he just didn't have a full camp behind him. He didn't have the gas to continue to keep up his, work rate throughout the fight with a guy that is known for having a good gas tank and had an entire fight camp behind him leading in. So getting a second opportunity here. This guy swings heavy. He's got a good long jab, excellent head movement, nice timing on his level changes, and he has good body lock control. He likes to hold on to his opponents, and man, he just really impressed me. He's got a very well-rounded game, and I think he belongs here. Just got a rough opportunity the first time out. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. Zhu is 21 years old. This kid is young, so there's a lot of opportunity for him to grow, change, and improve. That's something we always have to factor into this thing. He's got a ton of experience. For a 21-year-old kid to have 17-4 for his professional record, that's something. He's an absolute sniper with his right cross. That thing is sharp. It is accurate. He likes to use his jab as a range fighter, and he's very calm and collected in there. Again, for a 21-year-old kid, very, very fighting above his age, I guess. The way he remains calm and collected when the fight gets going. He likes to stalk his opponents, walk them down. He's got good hard body kicks, but he really struggled in his UFC debut against Vargas with the volume of his opponent. Man, I've already made a bet on Dakota Bush here in this spot. I think he's going to have a significant speed advantage. And I also think that his well-rounded game, mixing in the grappling, the level changes, I think that's going to be a problem for a kid like Zhu. We saw him really get flustered with an opponent who he couldn't hit last time, and he's going to deal with that again. Dakota Bush, I think, is going to be all out or all in. He's either going to be at striking range where he's got the advantage, or he's going to be grappling the kid where he can't put that right hand to use. If you look at Zhu Rong's record, a lot of those are cans. It's a lot of fighters who have awful records, who have awful, just not good fighters that got him to this point. He's still young enough to make mistakes and things like that. I think Bush is the side here in this spot, and I'm getting a lot of people in the chat telling me don't do it, but it's too late. The bet's already locked in, man. How do you feel about this one? Do you have a bet on this spot or have a side you like?
I would say I probably lean with you, just in the sense that I'd rather take a shot at the older guy. He might not be more experienced in terms of record, but like you said, the we'll call it the strength of schedule, if you will, might be a little higher. Because a guy like Zhu, like, he's younger. I mean, he just, like, if he loses this fight, he has an opportunity to maybe fall out, get back, figure some things out. And like you said, his first fight, he gets a little flustered. The hands aren't landing the way he's probably used to when he's fighting the tomato cans on the regional scene. So I lean with a guy like Bush, who especially you saw, like I can tell, like, he's a game guy. Like, you take a fight off against a guy like Hubbard on like a week's notice, making your debut in the UFC, and you go give him a dogfight. I mean, he's a game guy. So a guy like this, like you said, full camp, ready to go versus a much younger opponent. Like you said, maybe more experience in terms of just the wins and losses, but in terms of just the strength of the schedule, just not there. Like, I'd rather take a shot at a guy like Dakota Bush here for sure.
Okay. I'm glad we agree again, man. I like this spot. I think Dakota Bush has a lot of upside, and I think we're going to see him do some things in the UFC. Zhu Rong is a kid that, down the line, like you said, he's got plenty of time. I think he's going to do some good things. He'll make some adjustments. Might need to hop camps, something like that. But I do got to shout out, somebody in the chat brought it up. A little, exaggerated, obviously, but Chinese prospects are like 0-1,000 this year. Yeah, it's been a little rough for Team China when it comes to mixed martial arts. They'll turn it around eventually. All right, let me pull this up. I'm going to do a like check, man. Got to see where we're at. 97. All right, we're about halfway there, folks. There's 170 people watching live right now, and we're just shy of 100 likes. I got 3 $100 cash prizes to hand out on the show live tonight if we hit 200 likes. So y'all better hit retweet. Y'all better hit the like button. Tell some people about the show. Get in here. We got Big Ev on the show. What's not the love?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, man. Next up, a fight that really surprised me. We've got Nate Maness taking on Tony Gravely. And this is one of those ones that, first glance, I looked at this fight, and you always kind of semi-handicap it in your brain before ever really digging into the numbers or anything like that. And I was like, oh, Tony's going to mess this guy up. Immediate reaction was Tony's going to mess this guy up. And then I looked at the tape, and then I dug into the numbers. And man, I have already made a bet plus 170 on Nate Maness here in this spot. I've completely flipped from my initial inclination to the other side here. Nate Maness, he's coming off a big win over Luke Sanders in his last fight. Really, really showed that he's able to take a good, solid fighter, really durable, take everything that guy had, fire back, and come out on top. He's got underrated grappling. He is tall, he is long, he's got a crisp right hand, and he likes to force a technical brawl, and he really thrives when his opponents get into that area with him. He's able to switch stances, and he's really good in scrambles. This guy's got super underrated Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's going to have a decent height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage here in the spot against Tony. Now, Tony, he's one of these compact, short, stocky, powerhouse type of fighters. He's got big power in his right hand, and he's got good wrestling, explosive takedowns, and he likes to control his opponents. Again, another guy that goes to that body lock a lot. He's got good use of underhooks. But again, this guy is a can crusher. Tony Gravely is another fighter who has not the best names on his record. Geraldo de Freitas and Anthony Burchek are his last 2 wins, and he won a split against Geraldo de Freitas. He lost to Brett Johns before that. So, I mean, so far he's looked impressive, but who has he really looked impressive over? To me, it's big questions on Tony Gravely. And the biggest thing is this guy gets tired. He wears down and he gives up bad positions. He doesn't have a plan B. When this guy goes for the takedowns, that's all he's got. Once he gets tired, he still goes for the takedowns, but he gets sloppy. And against a guy like Nate Maness, a guy with a great gas tank, a guy who's going to be long enough to, take the back, take advantage of those opportunities, look for Darce chokes. Like he's going to be able to do all kinds of shit as soon as Tony Gravely gets tired. So this is a spot where I think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Maness. He's a big, juicy underdog. And one of my absolute favorite things to do, Ev, sprinkle that round 3 finish. He's going to be a big, fat number to win this fight in the 3rd round. I think Maness by sub and Maness round 3 are spots where we could definitely get an extra little bit of a sprinkle on, because Tony is going to give up those opportunities. And even if he's won the first round and a half or so, he's just going to not have anything left in the tank to keep up with Nate for the end of the fight.
Well, the thing I was going to say is obviously you pointed out like Gravely just kind of being so reliant on the takedowns. And we've seen in the past, I think, just kind of a big MMA thing where you see a guy who's a wrestler go against a guy who is taller, who is longer. A lot tougher to take those guys down. And I think kind of what you said, like if he struggles to get that takedown early, I don't want to use the word panic. That might be a little too disrespectful to him. But I mean, he might, if he can't get those early takedowns, like you said, if he kind of tires out, maybe gets a couple early and then he struggles to get them maybe 2nd round, 3rd round, he doesn't really have another route to go.
No.
Where Maness can kind of make the fight can kind of go any way and he can still find a way to like figure something out. Whereas if this turns into a standing fight, instead of it turns into, like you said, like a technical brawl and all these kind of things, like he has more routes to victory for me. Like the thing that I came into mind with, I was saying Maness by decision.
Okay.
Or excuse me, not by inside the distance. I meant to say, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, inside the
distance. Because I agree with you. Whereas like I think a guy like a wrestling guy, if he can't get those takedowns and he gets in a spot where he kind of is like just doesn't have another way to go and he's struggling to do what he wants to do, he tires out and he can figure something out, get inside the distance. I think he's capable of maybe getting, like you said, a tired out finish or a sub. So I like him inside the distance.
Plus 340, man. I was looking it up for you here. Plus 340, Nate Maness inside the distance. I don't hate that whatsoever. I like that.
This is one, especially for him. Even like you said, like Gravely hasn't fought like these great guys, but I mean, this he still kind of has like a name a little bit. Like he's got 21 wins on his resume. Like I think a guy like that, like this could be kind of Maness. I guess it may be a little bit of a coming out party for people. Like, oh, maybe he's.
That's a great way of putting it. There. Absolutely, man. I completely agree. Gravely, again, he's one of those guys. I just think he's a little bit overrated, and I think you nailed it. I think this is going to be Nate Maness' coming out party. It should have been his coming out party against Luke Sanders, but he already finds himself a plus 170 dog here. I think this is a spot where the market just doesn't know what to do with this kid yet. You know what I mean? He's going to surprise everybody one or two more times before he starts getting the respect.
Well, I also noticed with the odds makers too, they love wrestlers. They love wrestlers. And I think the line being as big as it is, I would have to imagine, is just them just seeing the wrestling advantage. But I just, like I said, with his length and just his size, I don't know if it's as egregious as maybe they're making it out to be.
Yeah. And I mean, you touched on it before, man, with the takedowns. Those tall guys, they've got that kickstand.
They're hard, man. That's what I'm saying. Like you were sitting there trying to get that lift, and his feet are still on the ground.
Yeah,
it's tough. Like if he, especially him, kind of being like a savvy, like wily kind of guy that can get those scrambles and kind of just leak out of it and just spin out and just figure. Like all of a sudden, like Gravely does that a couple times, tries to get a takedown. Or maybe he even gets the takedown initially. He spins out, circles out, tries to find a way out. All of a sudden, Gravely's exerting all this energy trying to get all these takedowns, and he's not really coming up with anything. He's not getting the ground control, any ground and pound. He's kind of just putting all this energy in and not being able to sustain the takedowns. I mean, if he can't do that through round one or even just in the middle, he's going to be in trouble for sure.
Exactly. And Maness is definitely the type of guy. He's not just going to accept that bottom spot. He will keep working. He will force Gravely to work. I definitely think that I'm glad we line up on this one again, man. I see a path to victory here for our guy, Nate Maness, and that's just such a good number. I love that plus 170, and I think you're right. I think he finishes the inside the distance, the sub, the round three, like however you want to approach it. I think there's some extra value to be had because when Nate takes over, he's a killer.
No question.
Love it. All right, man. Ladies fight coming up here. One of my absolute favorite female fighters in the UFC. Happy to see her back. Kianzad taking on Rocky Pennington. My girl Rocky is, I'm just going to go ahead and lay it out very easily for everybody paying attention and listening. Rocky Pennington is elite. People do not give her the credit she deserves because they don't like her style. They don't like her look. She doesn't finish anybody, but she is undoubtedly elite. She only loses to the very best fighters that the division has to offer, and this is a spot where we are getting a massive discount on an amazing fighter. If you haven't figured it out, I've already bet my girl Rocky. I think I got her at minus 130. I know Pannie Kianzad is a hot prospect. A lot of people really like this chick right now, and she's got some serious upside, but she is going to have problems with what my girl Rocky brings to the table. Pannie's a boxer. She's got a boxing background before she got into MMA. Fast hands, stinging jab. She works well behind her jab, and she always strikes in combinations. She's got a nice lead left hook. I do definitely like that. But the fact is she gets out grappled. She's a striker first. She doesn't really have her feet wet in the grappling situation. For the most part, she got taken down by Sijara Eubanks early in round one of their fight and never got up. Like she had to get stood up when the next round came through. She could not get back to her feet out from under Sarge. And Sarge is fighting a weight class down from here because she was not big enough for this weight class. So Raquel Pennington on the other side of things, her and her partner Tecia Torres, if anybody remembers Tecia Torres and how amazing she looked her last time out, those two picked up camp and moved on out to Denver. So again, kind of like the other couple we talked about earlier in the fight, if you can take anything, look how great Tecia Torres looked. You think Rocky's sitting on her ass while Tecia is working with Rose Namajunas and grinding levels and gaining experience? No, she's doing the same exact thing. She's training with her partner. She's working. She's going to be better the same way Tecia was better. They're working at team elevation. Like I said, with the champ Rose, she's got pictures training with Justin Gaethje out there. And I expect an improved version of Rocky Pennington. Now, she's got some basic meat and potato striking, man. She likes to move forward, hit people with short combos, and just walks them into the cage. She's another one who relies on her physical strength. She pins people up against the fence. really strong in the clinch, like underratedly strong for the way she looks. She's kind of got a bit of a soft body. You would never know how powerful she is just by looking at her. She's got big clinch knees, and she forces a grueling style of fight. You know, when the contenders, they like, not the contenders, the commentators, they drop talking about the fight, and they're like, just so everybody knows, this is harder than it looks. They're talking about Rocky. She makes her opponents fight that way every single time. She's got amazing cardio. She never stops or slows down. And the only time she has problems is when she's physically outmatched by somebody. Her losses are to the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, Jermaine Durandamy, who held the strap at one point, and the all-timer Holly Holm, who is a former champion herself. It's death taxes and Raquel Pennington by decision. She's gonna just walk Pannie down, walk through the fire, pin her against the fence, rough her up for 15 minutes, maybe take her down and never let her get back up. I think this is a discount on Rocky because she looked bad her last couple of fights. She's had a long layoff, got a new camp, new training partners, reinvigorated. I'm taking the discount. I got Rocky here.
See, this is one of those lines where it's almost like, I guess my like cynical gambling brain goes to the thought of like, what do they know that we don't know? Like why is the line so short? Because I don't know, maybe it's if you just look on paper at records and you see 15-5, 11-8, you're like, 11-8, like not great. Sometimes I think that may be where it is. I'm not totally sure. I don't know how much odds makers are just throwing in just purely records into it. I wouldn't imagine too much. I mean, they're the sharps for a reason. They set the lines for a reason. But I mean, it's hard to not agree with you. I'm big on strength, just trying to strength the schedule.
Yeah.
If you want, I mean, when your losses are to people like you just named, like Nunes and Holly Holm and these people, like it's tough to go against her here in the spot. Like I like Pannie, like she's, and also in this, especially in something like this too, where Pennington's gonna have the physical advantage too. I mean, just the wrestling and her making a dirty fight, like I just feel like she's not gonna have too much of a problem doing that. Like I feel like she's smart enough. Like she's faced the best. Like when you face skilled strikers like Holly Holm, I mean, someone like her, like you're not sitting there. I know she lost to her, but I don't think you're sweating. You're freaking out about facing someone like Pannie. So I mean, it's hard to go against Pennington here. I agree with you.
I feel you, man, and I think I'm glad you brought that up because I do really think this is a recency bias type of situation. A lot of us have made money on Pannie Kianzad. She was a big underdog to Sijara Eubanks. She came through. She was, I think, even money her last fight. She came through. She's on a 4-fight win streak. She's looking like a boss. Everybody's on the Pannie train. That's not what it sounds like. and Rocky Pennington on the other side of this thing, she's 2-3 in her last 5. She's got these big fat L's. Her last win was over a fighter who just called it quits and retired in Marion Renault, who was arguably like the bottom barrel, what am I looking for? The bottom barrel gatekeeper. Like if you got past her, then you were okay in the UFC, but she didn't really threaten anybody, even though she, and she's 50 years old still fighting. Like nobody's impressed with Rocky having her last win over Marion Renault. So I think it's a very, very recent perception of she's losing and only beating a washed up fighter. She's winning and beating people who that Sijara Eubanks fight, she just won by first round TKO. That looks great. That looks so good in hindsight. So I think there's a ton of that mixed in here. And I think people are just forgetting what Raquel is capable of doing because you don't outmuscle Holly Holm. Dude, when I broke down that fight, when I broke down Holly and Raquel, I wrote an article for Pub Sports Radio and I went off about how amazing and great Holly Holm is because she, very much like Raquel Pennington, fights in a very unassuming manner. Like we all know the Ronda Rousey head kick. Like we all know about that, but that's one in a million. The rest of the time, she's like George St. Pierre. She finds that weak link in your armor and she just abuses it to win the fight. It doesn't look sexy. It's not exciting, but she wins. And that's exactly what Rocky does. And I think she's going to remind everybody of that here in this spot. You
want to know what the line reminds me of a little bit? Misha Tate's comeback fight.
Yeah.
She was. I think the line was actually pretty similar around that like minus 130, 135. I think hers might have ballooned up a little bit late to like that higher, but I think it did open around that like 130 range. And I think that's what you said, like, oh, like she just hasn't fought in a while. You don't really know. But I mean, She comes in good shape. Like you talked about with Tisha Torres, like you expect her to come in here. I mean, like you said, she's not a world beater in the sense that she's not going to go here and just like finish her in 2 seconds. But I mean, it could just be like an outclassing, just like wire to wire.
And that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be sexy. Mm-hmm. All right, man. I like it. So just a check here on the likes. We got 124. Guys, we're getting there. I did not expect it to be, pulling teeth this way. I guess going up against the first Monday Night Football game probably has a little bit of something to do with it. But if you guys want some free cash, we need about 75 more likes here before the end of the show. Next fight up, we got Tafon Nchukwi taking on Mike Slow Rodriguez. Anybody who's been hanging out with me here on the show for a while knows I can't stand Mike Rodriguez. I will fade this guy every opportunity I get. It's not a personal thing. I just don't think he's a very good fighter. And I think the UFC is really trying to get one up over on him here. They want this kid that's 5-1 to get a name-recognizing win on his record, get an opportunity to show off on people. It really seems like a little bit of a setup fight. Now, more so than the last fight, like you were talking about, Ev, I've got the same question for you here. I'm going, why is this number so short? Like, we all know the UFC is backing Tafon here in this spot. He's a minus 125 favorite, plus 100 on Rodriguez here in this spot, who arguably is one of the worst fighters on the roster, in my opinion. Mike Rodriguez, super tall, super long, great Muay Thai striker, bad gas tank, questionable chin. He's the definition of a glass cannon, man. This guy will come out hard in that first round. He can knock out just about anybody. But if you extend him, he is huffing and puffing by about the 7-minute mark. Like, round 2 starts, and he's breathing. This guy has a hard time, especially if you grapple. If you make this guy wrestle, you're going to tap him. That's what happens every single time. And what we've got here is Tafon Nchukwi, a fighter who is a human tank. He's young, he's raw, he's got explosive power. He's shown in his last couple fights he can go a full 15 minutes. He can actually put a game plan together, decent volume, but he's still a work in progress. He's still a little bit of a diamond in the rough. When he lands, though, dude has some big, big power. I'm leaning Tafon here, but I've just got this weird feeling that I need to stay off this one, man. Do you have any type of lean here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what do you think? Listen, I'll say this from the jump. I don't judge anybody on their speed or anything. It's hard to back a guy whose nickname is slow, right? Especially like it's tough. I think I agree with you from kind of the standpoint of I guess I'll say the route that the UFC is kind of taking with this matchup, especially a guy who's only 6 professional fights. And I mean, when he landed that big knockout in the Contender Series, what was that? His 3rd or 4th fight? His 4th fight, I think, something like that. So I mean, it's a guy they're trying to get behind. Yeah. But I mean, it's tough, man. Like I would have to imagine the line has something to do with just sheerly his lack of experience, and just that he's still kind of a project, if you will. You don't see most guys in the UFC with 6 fights under their belt, and he's already a couple fights into the UFC. So I mean, that's tough. Like I kind of tend to agree with you in terms of I definitely would lean Tafon, but this is more my cynical gambling brain. The line scares me a little bit. Like why is it so Tavon's a monster.
It feels easy.
You look at them and you're like, he should just run and just barrel through him. So I mean, if I was to bet, on this fight, I definitely would take him. Maybe even him inside the distance and something like that. Maybe go more of like a prop route or something like that instead of just taking him straight up. I don't know what the line is off the top of my head inside the distance, but we'll see. I'm excited for this fight though, for sure. I think we're gonna get like an exciting fight out of it. I'm hoping at least.
You would hope so. I honestly, Mike Rodriguez, I talk about wanting to fade him and stuff like that, but from a fighting perspective, he's fun to watch. He forces a firefight. He hurts people. Yep. Like, he makes you get in there and fight him the way his style goes. So it's an interesting spot, man. A lot of people in the chat going ahead and hitting it up. Fireball and popcorn, man. That's what we call it. Take a break This is one where you don't need to have action on it. You don't need to have a bet on it. Go get a drink, go get a snack, and there's going to be plenty else to bet on for this card.
Maybe like a fight doesn't go the distance type thing here. Maybe that's not a terrible look, man.
That's minus 190.
But it's minus 190?
Minus 190. Yeah, fight doesn't go the distance.
Little long for me probably on this fight, but I don't hate it. I don't love laying the big juice like that, especially on a prop like that.
Woo! My guy Rockstar Z in the chat showing up saying very confident in Mike in this spot. Already bet Mike inside the distance. And I got to tell you guys, I cannot bet Mike Rodriguez. I remember when everybody bet this guy against Ed Herman the last time out, and I know there was a bad officiating call on that one.
Yeah, that was tough, man.
We still know how that happened.
Herman's a wily vet, and honestly, and I don't think he didn't mean to do it at first. I think he just went down, and the ref just kind of just thought it was a groin shot.
That wasn't Ed's fault.
No, not at all.
The official stepped in and said it was a groin shot. Had nothing to do with that.
He wasn't trying to sell the groin shot. He just was hurt to the body.
Absolutely. No, man, that's definitely something that we got to keep in mind. Maybe he shows up and he looks better than we expect him to. And my guy DFS said that something that I didn't really consider, but Tafon is moving up a weight class for this one, so that's kind of a double-edged sword. He's going to be undersized, but he's not going to cut as much weight. He probably has more raw power for this one. I have no idea. Definitely a pass for me. I'm going to go ahead and I'll plant my flag, man. I don't bet Mike Rodriguez. I'm going to stick on the Tafon side, but I'm not going to be touching this one with my money.
No, I don't hate that at all.
All right, man. I got to give a shout out real quick. Goat Capital Sports. They are one of my sponsors here on the show. Make sure you check them out at GoatCapital_ on Twitter. Like I said, best guys with golf. I love their golf picks. They've got a $25 weekly package that gets a refund if you lose with their picks week to week. So make sure you go check them out. And what's up, Lock of the Night, hanging out in the chat with me here. We've got faces rolling in and out here on the show, joined by Barstool's Big Ev, my favorite personality over there at Barstool. Once again, man, thanks for jumping on the show. We're going to work our way through this thing. We were just talking about this guy a minute ago. We kind of alluded to the highlight reel KO. Joaquin Buckley coming back against Antonio Arroyo. I mean, this guy lights the internet on fire with that knockout over Impa and then returns the favor.
Yep.
You know what? It's been a chain because he knocks out Impa, then Tsarukyan knocks him out, and then Tsarukyan gets knocked out immediately in his next fight.
Was it 17 seconds? Oh
we got to watch out for who I'm blanking on his name, son of a bitch, Al Hassan. We got to watch out for his next fight because this could be a curse situation where he's doomed to get highlight reel KO'd in his next fight.
I mean, he did, what was it, the fight before, or 2 fights before by Chaos?
Yep, by my guy Chaos Williams.
I know I love the Ox Fighter, man. I love that guy.
Oh, dude, he's not much of a sleeper anymore the way he stormed out of the UFC. Not. But I cashed a couple of sweet tickets with him. I think I'm 3-0 betting on the Ox King, so I'm ready to continue going here with Chaos. Give me anything playable with Chaos, and I'm on it. Man, here we go. Joaquin Buckley looking to recapture that glory that he had not so long ago. This guy's got huge KO potential. I like to think of him as like a coiled snake, man. He just stays stocky like this and then explodes. And he's got vicious, brutal power when he does. He forces a firefight, though, because you can only take so many of his shots before you've got to return back. And he keeps a pace on people. The problem I have with Buckley is he does everything with lunges, and that's why he got knocked out in his last fight. Is Tsarukyan was able to game plan for him launching himself in to close the distance. If he doesn't come up with a new way to enter in these spots, he's going to eat another shot like that. And he's taking on a guy whose knees are going to be right about chin range. Antonio Arroyo is huge at 185, man. This guy is massive. I have no clue how he gets down to 185, but he's tall, he's long, he's got good kicks, good knees. He likes to throw flying knees. He drops his hands and plays with those low, which is definitely going to be a double-edged sword in this spot against a guy like Buckley. He's exactly the kind of fighter that's going to be able to repeat that head kick, knee KO type of situation if Buckley isn't careful. I did My stalking research, though, Buckley spent this camp at a place called the Simmons Academy of Wrestling. And that has been the biggest hole in Arroyo's game, is that he's a decent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, but he's only got 32% takedown defense, man. This guy is a turtle on his back. He cannot get up once somebody takes him down. And he gasses out. He's another dude that's just so big. I think it's diminishing returns for him to cut down to 185 like this. He gets tired. So with Buckley, I think changing his game plan up a little bit, learning how to wrestle, adding a new tool to his arsenal here, I got to side with him. I think he's got KO potential if he decides to wrestle. I absolutely think this is the type of opponent that even if he's not amazing at wrestling, he can manage to get him to the ground. And then, like I said, the guy's got no answer once he's on his back. Buckley minus 220 seems a bit steep to me, but I don't really want the dog on Antonio here, man. What's your look on this one?
Yeah, this is one I probably, especially on the money line, probably not going to bet either side. I see it from one side. I agree with the whole wrestling thing, especially a guy coming off kind of a brutal knockout. I could see him kind of going that route, but he's a guy that's shown this. He had a bad knockout against Kevin Holland. He got knocked out badly and responded well. Obviously, comes back with his own knockout of the year. And I look, because I love to look at guys even from like a mental perspective of just the way they kind of handle things and their approach. So he's shown the ability to bounce back from a loss like that. So I'm not too worried about him on that side of things, of just being on the receiving end of a bad knockout. He's done it before. He's came back. He's fought well. I don't love him enough to like 220. I just don't like. I think he probably wins the fight. Like I agree with you. I'm not betting Arroyo here, but the side scares me a little bit. So this is probably like a stay away from me from a betting perspective. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him just use more wrestling than we've seen in the past for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an obvious answer to this guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes out and uses that. Jorge asking, how long's he been at the gym for? Unfortunately, that's something I couldn't tell. I'm just going off Instagram pictures, and, people can upload that kind of shit at any point in time. But it seems like he's been there for a couple of weeks. It looks like that's where he did this camp. So you'd think usually a camp is about 6 weeks or so. So I think that's probably the ballpark of what we would see. I'm a loser. Unfortunately, man, no, I'm not going to sing, but I will say happy birthday to Marky. So happy birthday, Marky. Thank you for tuning in. All right, we're both kind of leaning towards Buckley here, but definitely a pass situation here for me from a betting perspective. Ev, I know you mentioned before that we needed to keep the show about an hour, and we're not through this damn card yet. Are you good to keep going, or do you need
we're
to bounce?
Good, man. We're good. No worries.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Didn't want to, overlap and keep you with anything or anything like that. So
I would say can't leave before the main card.
Right? This card, dude. We picked the wrong week. It is so long. All right, let's bust into this next one here, man. Christos Giagos taking on Arman Tsarukyan. We've got Christos Giagos 19-8 taking on Tsarukyan, who is 16-2, and this is another one of those pretty disrespectful betting lines. Biggest favorite on the card here, minus 850 in some places for Arman Tsarukyan, plus 540 for Christos Giagos. Now, man, I tried to take just a little bit of a dog shot. I tried to talk up JP buys. Maybe there's a chance. I don't see it here. No. I absolutely do not see it here. Arman Tsarukyan is a monster. This guy is a grinder, chain wrestler. Once he gets his hands on you, he is absolutely never letting go. He's stupid strong in that body lock. Beautiful timing on the level changes. Good gas tank, big clinch knees, punches his way in. He's got the reach advantage. Averages 3.5 takedowns per 15-minute fight with a 35% accuracy. I mean, this guy is just unreal. He's well-rounded. He's got everything you need. Christos Giagos, he's got good experience. He's training out of Sanford MMA, which is another solid gym. You like to see that. He's an aggressive striker, but he's kind of a discount version of Arman Tsarukyan. He tries to follow a very similar game plan. He just isn't as big, he isn't as strong, and he doesn't do anything as well. He's got a 50% takedown defense, and 4 of his losses are by submission. Man, this is a spot where the only way that I'm going to look, because again, I'm not touching minus 850 in an MMA fight. That's where you get to that slip on a banana peel type of price tag. But with those losses all coming by way of submission, I'd be looking at the Arman Tsarukyan by submission or inside the distance. Inside the distance is plus 160. So if you want to take that and account for both the knockout and the sub, I think he's definitely got paths to finish here. This could be one where you end up looking kind of stupid because he just blatantly, obviously grinds his way to a 15-minute victory with no care in the world for putting his opponent away. I was bit by that one a couple weeks ago. He could just completely outclass his guy here, but I do think he's got that killer instinct. I do think he wants to make that statement, and I'd be willing to take a stab on that inside the distance at plus 160. How about you?
No, for sure. I mean, like it's like you said, even it's almost tough. Even he's such a favorite, it's almost tough to even make him like a parlay piece.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't do anything for the parlay.
You're not even adding much value to your parlay when you're throwing in. I mean, this thing could get up to minus 1,000 by the time the fight starts. I mean, and like you said, especially in a fight where you said like the skill sets are so similar, and one guy's just clearly kind of just better at everything. Yep. It's just hard to get behind Giagos, even if he gets to a plus 600 or more. I mean, it's hard to get behind a guy like that when he's just clearly just not in the same class. Probably realistically doesn't belong in the octagon with this guy. I mean, with Arman, I mean, inside the distance plus 160, I definitely like. I actually even agree with what the one guy said. Even maybe even take a look in the later rounds. Maybe he kind of grinds him out early.
Yeah.
And just maybe if you want to take something maybe in the second, third round, take a stab at something like that. If you're just looking to get some action in, that I think is the kind of look I'd more go for here than even like a parlay piece, or I'd say something like maybe even double up like a little inside the distance, maybe a little sprinkle on second round, a little sprinkle on third round, or either one of those, something like that. That's the way I'm looking at this fight.
Yeah, man. I mean, like my guy, shout out Manpreet, MMA Lock of the Night. He's another podcaster. He's a regular guest on the show. Giagos' gas tank is not good. So if he gets pushed a pace, if Arman gets this guy in a grappling heavy assault, he's going to break. He's going to slow down. He's going to gas out. And that's I think that's money right there, man. I do think the inside the distance. I do think the later rounds, probably round 3, because Arman is not a guy that necessarily is going to be John saying he's got 0 UFC finishes, but it's just the level difference, man. It's a different class. That's what it is that even though he doesn't have a finish in the UFC yet, if he wants to, he should be able to get this finish. So I wouldn't mind that round 3 shot if you wanted to take it here.
I mean, and even just how you said that, what the guy said, like he doesn't have that finish. I think a guy like that you're trying to prove you're a real contender. Mm-hmm. This is a spot where you're on a main card, or not. At least you're on the main card. This is a spot where you want to try to wipe those comments, wipe them out. Say, go get a finish.
You got to make that statement.
Go dominate this guy. Try to get a number behind your name. Try to make something happen.
Absolutely. It's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. And I'm probably going to bet on it, 5 times before I cash one. But eventually we're going to get there. All right, man. We've got 141 likes. So we're getting there, people. Get us to that 200 mark. I want to give away some free money. Next fight up, Mandy Bohm taking on Ariane Lipski. The queen of violence herself is getting another downgrade here after having a very disappointing fight last time out. Now, I have been known to back Ariane Lipski a little too much. I've bet this girl almost every one of her fights in the UFC, so I do think I've followed her with that 2-2 record. I might have missed one. I might be 1-2 and be slightly down on Lipski, but I can't help myself. I'm going back to the well here, man. She is training at ATT with the absolute GOAT, Amanda Nunes, and that was something that I pointed out in her last fight that I liked from her, something that, we're going to see improvements from her. She's got a really high ceiling. She's got a lot of potential. A place like ATT with women fighters of that caliber training her, she's going to make those leaps. She's going to make those improvements. And she just ran into a freight train in Montana de la Rosa last time out. I'm expecting those improvements here. Now she's had 2 full camps at this incredible top-tier gym. I think she's going to be showing some serious improvements. This chick is heavy on her feet, and she hits hard. She has got underrated power, and her opponents have all had to grapple with her because they're scared of her on the feet. I mean, Antonina Shevchenko, the other Shevchenko, not the champion, her sister, she is an accredited kickboxer, man. She is a very skilled fighter, but she turned into a wrestler against Lipski as soon as she got caught with 1 or 2 right hands. She went, I don't want none of this, and took it to the ground. So I think Lipski on the feet is going to have a significant advantage over most women in the UFC, and it's just patching up that takedown defense, the ground game, the scrambles. That's what she needs to work on. She does have explosive submissions, so even on the ground, she can be dangerous. She just needs to work on being in more dominant spots. Now, Mandy Bohm, she's 7-0. She looks impressive, but it's her UFC debut. She's had 4 canceled fights in a row coming up to this thing. Finally makes the jump into the UFC. She's got a nice long peppering jab that I do like. She is strong in the clinch, but I don't think she's physically as strong as Ariane Lipski. And the fact that she's a striker, not a wrestler, we've seen no ground game from her whatsoever. Very similar to Ariane. She's a girl that gets taken down by her opponents and tries to get back to her feet where she does her best work. So I think this is the UFC basically setting the bar as low as they can, going, look, if you want to stay, you got to beat this girl. She's 7-0. Yeah. She's undefeated. It's a win-win for the UFC. You know, either the new girl comes in, steals all the hype, and launches herself upwards, or Lipski gets one over finally, and they say, look, she just beat this undefeated chick. She's back on track. Let's go. So it's a good spot from a matchmaking perspective. But I looked into the opponents of Bohm, and again, she's got just an insanely padded record, in my opinion. I think Lipski is a much better striker, and that's the best path Bohm has, is the striking. I don't expect her to come in here and wrestle. So I think Ariane's the side. I think this is a buy low spot on a UFC caliber fighter with a big upside with that training that she's been doing at ATT. So I got Lipski. I think I paid minus 115 for her. The line is still sitting there. A little bit of money coming in on Lipski. Minus 120s and minus 125s kind of popping up in the market. Ev, how do you see this fight playing out, man? What's your play on this one?
Yeah, it's just tough to get a read on someone like Mandy Bohm, who just hasn't, like you said, like she hasn't really fought anybody. So it's like you just don't really, like, it's just a hard fight to gauge from that perspective. Like, I've said it a few times during the show. I'm someone who tends to lean more towards that, like, strength of schedule, kind of the more proven commodity. Like, she's been there, she's done that. Versus someone who I just think the line scares me because I think they're kind of giving Mandy Bohm, like, they're giving her some respect. Mm-hmm. That scares me a little bit. The fact that it's like close to a pick'em fight. Maybe she is the real deal. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But this is one I probably not going to bet it, like actually put a wager on it myself. But I mean, I would definitely, like, I agree with you in terms of just leaning towards someone who's proven, like, just more experience, higher quality opponents in a fight like this. I just think it's tough to get a real read on it when you don't have a genuine real gauge on how good Mandy Bohm actually is. Like, maybe she's great. We don't know that yet. I guess this is kind of a fight where, it kind of like you said, like, it's like from a UFC perspective, it's like, let's find out. Let's find out how good she actually is.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is, man. And that's a good point. I mean, like I said, this is one of those ones where I am upside down in my investment on Lipski. I got to double down. I got to get my money back. Like, you don't have to bet this fight with me, and I wouldn't blame you one bit if you just wanted to pass on by this one and see these two go to war, because I do think this is going to be a fun fight. I absolutely think that this is going to be a highly entertaining match. And I'm just a degenerate, so I got to bet on it. I feel like I see a spot. It's a small edge. It's a small angle, but I'm going to take it, damn it.
I love it.
All right, man. So what we've got coming up here next. Did I close my window? Son of a bitch. I closed my window. Let me get this up here for our next fight. We have got
so you want to talk not really knowing what to think. A couple debuts.
Dude, we've got a run of those coming up here where there's going to be a lot of questions. Nicholas Mata taking on Cameron Van Camp. Now, Mata is from the Dana White's Contender Series. So we've seen him fight at least once, but we know the Contender Series guys tend to struggle their first couple fights in the UFC. And I was full steam ahead on the Dana White Contender Series fade, man. He was facing Jim Miller. I was going to take Jim Miller in this spot to the bank, a proven veteran warrior like Jim at even money against someone like Mata. Oh, give it to me. I will play the fade all day. But Jim drops out. He's got COVID, unfortunately. We're hoping a speedy recovery for that man. He seems like he has minimal symptoms, so I think he's going to be okay. But Van Camp is coming in here on short notice, and he was actually supposed to be the fill-in for Paddy Pimblett. A couple weeks ago, we thought Paddy was going to have visa issues. Yeah, and this kid was supposed to step in against Luigi Vendramini. So the UFC has obviously had eyes on him for a bit. I don't know what to make of this guy. He's got a nasty front choke. That's something that I've noticed. But his last couple opponents have just gifted it to him. Guys that have just absolutely extended their necks going in for bad takedowns, and he's just gladly taken it and went home with these first-round submission victories. Mata's not going to do that. This guy bites down, Van Camp does. He bites down on his mouthpiece, and he just swings for the fences, and he swings from the hip. He is incredibly hittable, man. Mata has a high, tight boxing guard, good footwork, circles well, and he likes to cover up and return fire. He's one of those guys that can see the big shot coming, defend up, and then hit you back harder than you swung for him. I think he's going to knock this guy out. I think Mata's just levels above on the feet, and he's not going to make the same grappling mistakes that most of Van Camp's opponents have made. And if this stays standing, I just think he's going to stay disciplined and box this guy up until he finds a KO a little later in the fight. So it's rare that I like to run to the window to back a Contender Series kid. And I don't know, again, this is another spot that I've lost so much money backing Contender Series guys in their first fights in the UFC that I've gotten this close to implementing a rule of not betting Contender Series guys in their UFC debuts. But I'm extremely tempted in this spot because I see just a clear advantage over this Van Camp guy. How do you feel about this one, man?
I just think this fight's going to be absolute chaos. Like, I was watching a little bit. I think just kind of both, like Van Camp's guy kind of, excuse me, just got this kind of like crazy style. Like, he's very like, just his movements, I just feel like are very like unorthodox. Like, he kind of can, like, I wouldn't, like, it's one of those, this fight could go so many different ways, and I wouldn't be surprised by any of them. Like, I really, like, it could be anything from a like you said, like a Mata knockout to all of a sudden to a Van Camp submission to, I could see it just being like just a war on the feet where they're just trading shots, like, and Van Camp's just throwing wild hooks and they're just going back and forth. Like, this could go so many different ways. I generally like would not be surprised. It's hard for me to get behind either of them real like and feel good about it, just because, like you said, we've seen Mata in the Contender Series. Van Camp's making his debut. He was a champion in other organization. I don't know. This is probably another stay away from here. Just grab your popcorn and just see what happens, because I just think it's going to be absolutely crazy. I'm not like totally sold on Mata, but I just don't feel confident. I don't feel like super confident with either side.
Yeah. That's kind of my spot here too, man. Like, I think it's going to be Mata, but we don't even have a line yet. That's kind of the problem. We can't really talk about it. If you give it to me at Pick'em, it's not going to be Pick'em. They had him pick him against Jim Miller. There's no way he's going to be a decent-sized favorite, and that's really my big issue is I'm not laying chalk in this spot.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say, that if this line, because I was going to talk about the line, if the line comes out and Van Camp like is like a sizable dog, I think I would be willing to take a shot just because we don't really know. But I agree with you. Like, Mata, like if Mata's a minus like 200 favorite, what I think is possible if it's a pick him against Jim Miller. So I mean, if he comes out and he's a huge favorite, I might have to fade him and go the other side. But I don't feel like great. Like I don't feel great about it still. But I'd be willing to take a shot just because I think this is kind of a coin flip fight in my opinion.
The Contender Series fade makes people money, man. I wouldn't hate that whatsoever. If he comes out and he's a minus 300 to minus 350 favorite, something like that, I don't hate the sprinkle the other direction on principle because, yeah, we've seen short notice guys come in here in the UFC recently and do very, very well, especially when they know they've got a clock ticking, especially when they know their gas tank isn't going to go 15. They come out swinging in that first round, and sometimes they get it done. So I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it at all. All right, we are getting to the good stuff. Believe it or not, we have finally reached the co-main event of the show. And first off, if I have to apologize, I'm a little disappointed because we only have 148 likes. And we consistently have 250 to 300 live viewers on this show. And I guess the Ravens are a big enough draw tonight. So people had to have some scheduling issues because I'm sitting on $300 giveaways that are power locked behind a 200 like wall that we have not hit yet. And when this show wraps up, if we haven't hit that like button, you guys are going to make me look bad. Man, we got the co-main event here. Absolute wild man. One of my favorites, Ion Cutelaba, the Hulk, taking on Devin Brown Bear Clark. And I've got to be extremely extremely careful here, Ev, because I love Kutalaba. I love what this guy does and what he brings to the table. He's a shit-eating wild man, and I love it. And I can't stand Devin Clark. Now, again, not a personal thing. I think he's too small for 205. I don't like his fighting style, and I just keep getting stung by him. Every time I've tried to bet against him, he shows up and he does just enough to squeeze out a win and gets the damn thing done. I remember he was fighting one of the big explosive dudes, and like his eye was completely swelled shut, but for some reason they let him go and he was able to out grapple the third round and win a decision that I'm like yanking what's left of my hair out. The guy couldn't hit one more shot on him to knock him out and put him away. So I've got a big time bias here in this spot. Ion Cutelaba, physically powerful. This man is an absolute brick shit house. Good Greco-Roman wrestling, all upper body, all power, breaks opponents, raw aggression, and he's hell on wheels in round one, man. He comes out hard, and he has got nasty ground and pound, but he's got such low IQ. He's got such bad fight IQ. The disqualification for faking being rocked, the knees to the downed opponents. I mean, there is not an Ion Cutelaba fight without this guy doing something wrong that could potentially give him an L. But his back's against the wall here. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, with one of those being the DQ mentioned. He's only got one win in his last 5. Like, he's potentially on the chopping block here with the UFC and desperately needs this win. Devin Clark, I already mentioned it. In my opinion, he's a 185er that just doesn't like to cut weight. He's too small at 205, but he's a really good wrestler. He is explosive. He's got those running back thighs that he can just take people down with, and he's got a great gas tank. What we've seen from Ion Cutelaba is if he doesn't finish you early, he gasses. And we've seen him on his back before for 2 full rounds because he doesn't have an answer when he runs out of energy. And that's exactly the kind of thing that Brown Bear will be able to do. So for me, man, this is a complete pass because I think this line is pretty accurate, actually. Ion Cutelaba is about a minus 145, minus 150 favorite. You're getting plus 115, plus 120 on Devin Clark. And I don't hate anybody for fading Ion at this point based on what we saw. The only thing I can say is the guy that knocked Ion out is a legitimate contender, is going to be the future of the division. So this is a step down in competition and a fight that, in my opinion, he should be able to win. But that fight IQ, I can never back this guy with my money because he might do something stupid and cost me the damn show. So I'm going to pass. I'll say Ion wins and keeps his job, but I don't think I'm going to bet this one, man. Do you have a play on this fight?
I like Clark, man. It's one of those, like, I don't like. It's tough because, like you said, like, Ion's the more exciting fighter. Like, he's more of a guy that you want to, like, get behind.
Yeah.
So I think even maybe like if you want to look at a prop angle, like a fight doesn't go the distance, or maybe like a Clark by decision, I don't hate. But I just think he's going to be able to. I just think he's going to be able to weather that early storm and just kind of grind it out. Like you said it with Ion, like he gets in these fights where he lets it go. And then all of a sudden, if letting it go, if he lets his hands go early, it doesn't work. Maybe it's even a spot where I could see even maybe a live bet look, where maybe Ion comes out firing, Clark's able to weather the storm. Maybe Ion gets the first round. Maybe he's a big favorite after the first round. You grab Clark live as a big dog. Maybe he comes in, grinds it up, wins the second round. You get some good value on it. That's more the look I'm taking at this fight. So I would say I like Clark.
Hey, I don't hate that live bet look, man. That's something that I don't think I talk about enough on the show because I'm one of the first guys on the market. There's only one pair of assholes that do a show earlier than me. Shout out to my guys, DFS and Uncle Wheezy. Love you guys. They get on Sunday night and they undercut me being the first ones to the market. I don't talk about live betting enough because I am such a pre-flop bettor. You know what I mean? I'm programmed to give picks, and I try to get my picks out earlier in the week and stuff like that for these breakdowns for the show. So I don't really think about that kind of stuff all the time. And then in the moment, I'll make the live bets, but sometimes you can't tweet them fast enough when you're getting the lock in between the rounds and shit. But that's a great call. That is a great call because if Devin Clark survives round one, Ion Cutelaba 90% wins round one. And then we know he slows down, and we know Devin Clark doesn't. So I think that's a sharp look. You might get a much, much better number on Devin Clark after he drops that first round, if that's the way you want to look at it.
That's because I like Clark, but I do think he's susceptible to get knocked out here. And I would like him at probably a little higher than a 120. I probably will take him at that 120 or whatever it is when it closes at price. But especially if he's able to weather that first round storm, I think I'll definitely try to get something on it. Especially if who knows if he gets up maybe in those 2s or 3s range, I would definitely take a shot at him there. So that's kind of the way I'm approaching it.
And that's where I think you're absolutely right, man. If you could get Devin Clark plus 200, that's just a home run. The line should never be that wide. So if he's plus 200 after round 1, that's the move for sure. All right, man. It is main event time. Let's talk about this exciting main event and my professional doppelganger Anthony Smith taking on Ryan Spann over there. Superman versus Lionheart. We've got Anthony Smith, the guy that his nickname is so perfect. He does not give up. Lionheart, you could not have named this guy any better for the fight game. He just doesn't stop. He struggles with wrestling. That's the big issue with him, is we've seen him, again, another turtle. He gets put on his back. He's a high-level BJJ black belt. He loves to play off of his guard. He likes to look for those submissions. But if you are big, if you're strong, if you're heavy, you can get on top of this man and you can simply wait him out. And we've seen that time and time again. On the feet, he's deadly. We've seen what he can do with the striking weapons. On the ground, if he gets your back, if he gets a dominant position, he is deadly. That BJJ is nasty. The longer the fight goes on, the more it favors Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Ryan Spann on the other side is just a monster at 205. He is a big, big man, and we know Anthony Smith used to fight at 185. He shouldn't have. I don't know how he ever made that cut, but Ryan Spann, on the other hand, is a guy that cuts to get to 205 in a big way. He's a much larger, denser man. He's explosive. He's athletic. He's physically strong. And, man, he's a good wrestler. I know I just pointed out all those things on the bad side for Anthony Smith. Superman Spann is a good wrestler, but he's got a bit of a bad gas tank. If you remember back when he fought Sam Alvey, he was almost knocked out in the 3rd round by Sam freaking Alvey because he slows down so badly. This is a fight that's a tale of two fighters, man. Early, it's Spann. The longer it goes, it's Smith. And I think that it's tough to bet because how do you argue with Anthony Smith being the favorite that he is? Minus 170, minus 165. He's fought for a title. He's fought some of the best fighters in the world at both divisions. And he's having a career resurgence at this stage. He's still young. It's not like he's old and hanging the gloves up. He's got time. He can make improvements. He can make adjustments. He deserves to be the favorite here. But Spann is an athletic freak and a kid that seems to be putting it all together at the right time. The UFC expects big things from him. If this fight ends early, it's probably because Spann knocked Smith out. If this fight goes beyond the 2nd round, I think it's Smith all day. And I'm glad you mentioned the live betting last time, man, on the last fight, because now it's right in the forefront of my brain. This is a live betting spot because I don't want to lay minus 170 on Anthony Smith pre-flop because he could just get grinded on that first round, catch a big bomb, and get put away. But if he loses that first round or two and you get a better number on him, I would love to take Smith live after the first, after the second, something like that. I'm going to shout out headline here. Fight doesn't go the distance, minus 250 is a lock. That's probably true because I don't know if Ryan Spann can go 25 minutes. I know he can finish early, and I know he can get finished. So that's not a bad look, man. I'm going to side with my guy, Anthony Smith. I think he weathers the storm. I do think he's the higher level fighter, and we've seen him take just piles of punishment before and survive and flip the tables on people late. I think that's what he does here in this spot, but it's hard to justify betting on somebody needs to come back at minus 170.
Yeah, I think with Smith, it's just, excuse me, I think it's hard to go against him here, especially he looked so good in his last fight. So good.
Yeah.
I mean, that jab against Jimmy Crew, I mean, he just was pop. Especially when he was a big dog in that fight. I feel like people forget he was a sizable underdog in that fight. And I know it kind of had a weird ending with Crew and everything, but that was also to Smith's credit, lands that big kick, kind of, I think, shuts off Crew's nerve. Mm-hmm. I mean, he looked so good. And I just think it's hard to go against him in this spot. It's hard not to trust the savvy veteran who you've seen fight the best guys in the world. And you've seen just been in that spot where Spann's trying to kind of break through that and get to that point. Like, this is a massive opportunity for Spann where he can really get deep into that top 10. Like, if he gets a win over Anthony Smith, he's getting a huge next fight.
Yeah.
So I think you got to look at it from that angle too, where Spann's going to be highly, highly motivated. But at the same time, like, it's Lionheart, man. Like, this guy is a dog. He is a dog. Like, he might get knocked out. Like, that's certainly possible. But he's not going to just quit. He's not going to just roll over. I mean, we saw even the fight with Glover Teixeira. I mean, he's getting mauled, saying his jaw's broken. And
handing the official his teeth.
Like, yeah, losing his teeth, and he's just coming, and he's just coming and coming and coming, and still just sitting there, just even kind of just taking the beating, where to the point Glover's literally like apologizing to him while he's whooping his ass. And
that was something, man.
Like, he literally like feels bad for the guy. The guy's had his teeth falling out of his mouth, his face is broken. He's getting beat the hell up, but he just won't quit. He'll die on the sword, die on the shield. So I kind of agree with you, where it's like, I like him so much as a guy, as like a person, just a fan of his. But 180 is a lot against a guy like Spann, who has that knockout power.
Yeah,
and is the bigger guy. Like, he's physically more the bigger guy just in general, and can wrestle. Like, just having those two, that combination mixed together against him, it's just hard to kind of like really want to back him. I don't want to lay minus 180 with him. I'm very curious to see the direction this line goes in as the week moves on. That's something I'm very curious to see, which way kind of the heavy hitters are going, or where just the line movement's going on him. Because I really wouldn't be shocked kind of see it go either way. As weird as that sounds, like, I wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden people are kind of going with the experience, the more seasoned guy, and he gets up to minus 200 or more, which then I almost might even want to take a shot at Spann, as much as it would break my heart to bet against Lionheart.
Yeah, man. I can absolutely see taking that shot if that line gets too wide. It's an interesting.
But I even think at that point, if I was even going to take a shot at Spann, I think at that point I probably would just try to take him by knockout, because I think that's his most likely route to victory here. Whereas Lionheart, I think he could finish him. Like, he could finish him with some ground and pound. He could submit him. He could go win a grinded out dogfight and win it by decision. I think he has more routes to victory. I feel safer. I just feel safer backing a Lionheart here in this spot. But Spann, I mean, listen, like I said, Spann, this is a massive, massive opportunity. And if he can rise to the occasion, especially if he can get a big finish like that and go finish a guy literally named Lionheart, I mean, his next fight is going to be a massive, massive contending fight. Like, his next fight could be that one away from maybe even getting a shot or being in a title eliminator type fight.
Yeah, absolutely. He's knocking on that door for sure. This fight's got some serious high stakes on it, man. And I'll be honest, if this was a 3-round fight, I'd probably take Spann. If this was a 3-round fight and I know that wrestling weakness exists for Smith, I'm probably back in Spann. But the fact that we've got 10 more minutes, 2 more full rounds after that point, winning rounds 1 and 2 and then surviving round 3 ain't going to be enough. That's when Smith comes back and puts a beating on him in the 4th and in the 5th and potentially puts him away. So with it being a main event, it sways me to the Smith side.
And I honestly think that the odds makers, I feel like that's a big part of it. Like, I feel like if this is a 3-round fight, I feel like this is more like a Smith maybe minus like 140, something in that range. Especially like this guy just said Spann by KO plus 550. I mean, that doesn't look too bad to me at all. That almost seems like a pretty big line.
If you're taking a swing,
who as powerful as he is, and it has, like we said, it has the size advantage, is powerful.
I don't hate it.
That's a plus 550 seems like a lot. I'm actually surprised it's that high.
Man, I'm never talking anybody out of a plus 550 shot. That's the way to do it. Well, Ev, thank you so much for breaking down UFC Vegas 37 with me tonight, man. I do appreciate it. Real quick, I just want to check in and ask you, man, I'm actually going to talk about this week's Dana White Contender Series fight up next. Totally up to you if you feel like hanging and chatting about that. I know that's a little last minute there for you. If you want to bounce, that's totally fine. We can cut you loose. But if you want to talk fights some more with me, you're more than welcome to hang out.
I'm willing to hear it out. So I'm not going to, I'm someone I'll definitely be watching. I haven't done research on the guys. I don't know a ton about the guys. But if you want me to say, if you want to just fill me in or whatever, I'm definitely open to listen, because I'll definitely be trying to play some plays tomorrow night for sure. I'll definitely be watching.
Well, totally up to you, man, because I'm going to talk about him either way. So if you feel like hanging out, I'm cool with you sticking with me. It's fun to, chop it up with you and talk with you about it. But I also understand if you haven't done the research, if you don't quite know what you're looking at, I didn't want to put you on the spot. You know what I mean? If you want to bounce and watch football, I totally get it.
Here, yeah, listen, I feel bad because I don't think I'm going to have too much to add on these guys. I don't really know. I'm someone who I use the contender series for me as kind of something to let me see what's going on. Let me get a little bit inside that's my little bit of research time trying to figure it out. Definitely do some research tomorrow morning, try to see if I can figure something out. But I feel bad. I know I'm not gonna have much to add on those guys for sure.
All good, man. All good. Totally fine. So hey, man, So first off, I just want to say thank you. Like from the bottom of my heart, it was fun having you. I'm a huge fan of yours, so this was one of those cool moments to get a guy that I've known and looked up to and watched, and get to chop it up with you on stream. It's always fun to do that. So thank you so much for chopping time out of your night here for us. If you want to shout anything out, let the people know where they can find you. I know 90% of them already do, but the floor is yours, man. Go ahead and say what you want at this point, and if you got anything to shout out, have at it.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I want to say thank you for someone like from the real MMA world, like bringing me on. Cause like I said, I know how much there is to learn about this sport. And I know, like I talked about before, right before we went live, like I'm not someone who, I haven't competed in wrestling. I haven't competed in jiu-jitsu. I haven't trained it. I don't know. I'm someone who has became just a massive, massive fan over the last 3 or 4 years. And I've dove in head first, and I've tried to do as much research as I can about just fighting, knowledge, just learning even just history, just the kind of the history of the game and just the way things have happened and just the legends of the game and watching the old fights and just learning through that. I'm someone who I think has kind of transitioned from was a casual fan. And this is the line I toe because I think I'm just like, I'd like to call myself a hardcore fan because I don't miss fights. Like I don't miss cards. I watch everything. I'm trying to learn so much, but I'm still trying to catch up to some people that have just been in the game for so long, have such just like this vast knowledge of all the different intricacies of MMA and just mixed martial arts. So I mean, I appreciate you giving me a chance to kind of like talk about it on like a deeper level with someone who like you really know what you're talking about, and I really appreciate it. Like I feel like I've learned a lot just from chopping up with you doing the show. So I really appreciate it. You follow me, Double Vodka Don, all the platforms. If you want to make any of these bets, bet them on the Barstool Sportsbook. Great app. We got a ton of stuff going on there, a ton of exclusives. I usually try to put together a little exclusive parlay that gets boosted for the people. I've actually had some good success with those. Some good success in those spots. I think I'm up money on some of those I put out, so look out for those Saturday. So really appreciate it, man. It means a lot.
Dude, I absolutely appreciate it as well. It's been fun chatting with you, and the door's open, man. I've got a roundtable of guests that we do, and I would love to have you back on sometime. So definitely would love to chop it up and do this thing with you again sometime in the future.
For sure, anytime, man. Just let me know. For sure.
Hell yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'll catch you online, man. Thank you again.
All right, thank you so much, man. Have a good one.
You too. All right. That was Big Ev of Barstool Sports hanging out with us. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. And y'all are slacking. What are you doing? I talked to the boss man. I get a giveaway for the diehards here. Free money handout with Big Ev from Barstool coming on the show. And we can't get to 200 live likes. What are you doing to me? We got 170 likes right now. We need 30 more. I'm extending the show. I need to go hang out with my wife and my daughter, but I'm going to break down the Dana White Contender Series for y'all so we can try and get to that 200 mark. Head on over to Twitter, call up Grandma, tell everybody jump on so we can give away $100 to 3 lucky viewers and supporters of the Die Hard MMA podcast. Let's go, people. It was so freaking fun to have Big Ev on here. He's such a cool dude. I love that guy. All right, let's get into this, shall we? Let's go. First fight on Tuesday's Dana White Contender Series is Yasmin Judovicius and Julia Polasteri. Not sure how to pronounce that one. We've got 2 hot young prospects coming in here. Jasmine, 5-1 as an MMA fighter, 3-0 as a professional boxer before making that transition. And her only loss in MMA was dropping down to 115 for a title shot. So she made a mistake, switched divisions, dropped the class, and did not look as good at 115. Now, this chick's got a stiff jab. She has a very active lead hand. She's got a hard right cross. She likes to stalk her opponents, and she stands right in front of her opponents at all times. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Joanna with that kind of, I'm just going to punch you harder than you punch me type of mentality. She punches her way into the clinch. She has nice trip takedowns, big knees to the body, scrambles really well. I like everything I see from Jasmine. Now, Julia on the other side of this thing, 8-2, has not fought yet in the year 2021. So it's been a while. I'm expecting improvements from a young fighter like this. And she's actually moving up from 115 to 125 for this opportunity. She's heavy on her feet. She is extremely hittable. She doesn't move her head very well. She throws a few strikes, step backs, shakes her arms out. It's a little uncomfortable to watch, but she's got big clinch knees. She's explosive and physically strong is one thing that I've noticed. And we've seen, even with the women's fighters, when you take a bit of a layoff and you take that step up in weight class, and part of your game is that strength, we see it transition. We see it work well. So I think that her having that physical strength is going to be something that actually transitions up to 125 and makes me a little concerned about betting against her. She's another fighter who scrambles well, good takedowns, good takedown defense, good get-up game, and she floats in top position. When she gets on top of somebody, you are not getting out from under her. She will ride your back. She will stay on top. I really like what I see from Julia on the ground. And this is a spot where I know a lot of people are kind of lining up on Jasmine right now this week, but I kind of think Julia is the side here. And shout out my guy, the Greek. We know Gianni. He actually gave out Jasmine as a pick, I believe. And I hate to go against Gianni, but I think Julia is the side that I would prefer. Now, this fight is a pick'em. It's very, very close. So in no way is this line like getting away from anybody or anything like that. But I think minus 120 for Jasmine, plus 100 on Julia, it looks like. I don't know that I'm betting it. I still don't have a great track record on Dana White's Contender Series. I'm coming off cashing a 3-1 underdog, which was sweet last week. That felt good, helped right the ship a little bit, but I still need to be very, very cautious. I can't get cocky. I can't get overconfident or anything like that. So I'm looking at Julia, but I don't know that I'm actually going to pull the trigger on that one. Jorge out there knocking on the neighbor's door to get in here and hit the like button. I like that. Yeah, Doc Zombie saying Julia's a baddie, and John saying too bad she's losing. Yep, this one, it's very close. It's very close. Bout Better saying even money. Yeah, this one really could go either way. Inc 4K, not a bad idea. Someone just go make a bunch of new accounts to get us up to that like number. So yeah, I mean, first fight of the night, I think this one's going to be fun. I think that if Julia can get the grappling going, she wins. It's as simple as that. If she can't get this thing to the ground, if that reach advantage is too much of a problem, then Jasmine probably just bops her face off for the 15 minutes and gets an easy 15-minute decision. But whoever wins the fight is going to look like a minus 250 favorite. It's priced at a pick'em because we're not sure who's going to get to implement their game plan. Whoever does is definitely going to beast their way to a win. The next fight up here is at 170 pounds. Excuse me while I check the likes ratio. We're at 179. We're at once. You know what? I'm going to put a tweet out. Everyone just sit tight. I'm going to put a tweet out because that should get it done, right? Like if people hear there's free money, that should do it. Let me tweet this out here. We have 179 likes and we need 200 live to give away $100 to 3 lucky viewers. Man, I sound like an infomercial. 3 lucky viewers. It is $9.99, folks. And that's not all. I sound like I'm running an infomercial. John, right? I'm trying. We are so close. We can't let this thing flop. All right. Next fight up. We have got Jack Della Mandela? I have no idea how to say that. Taking on Anj Lusa. Now, this is a fight that I have gone back and forth. Like, I've been so torn on this one. First off, Jack is a guy who his most recent win I don't know what the hell I wrote there. Autocorrect got me, folks. I left a note for myself, and it's totally botched. Anyway, this kid is an absolute unit. He is built incredibly well. He's tall, he's long, good size for the division, really commits to his jab. I love what this guy does with that lead hand. He's got a really hard right overhand, big head kick, and he's also not opposed to changing levels and looking for the grappling. His timing on those level changes, when his opponents come in and pressure him, he switches levels and he makes life miserable for them once he gets them on the ground. He's got a good body lock. He chases that takedown, and he's nasty when he gets on top of you. He gives up position for his submission attacks, though, I've noticed, and that is a bit of a problem. He is one of these guys that can lose a good spot because he is hunting for that finish. Lusa is out at Sanford MMA. He's training with my boy Gilbert Burns, and you all know how that usually goes, right? Like, I'm a Sanford MMA guy. I'm a Burns trained believer. I am all about Anj, and I want to see him do well. He's also the type of fighter that I just gravitate towards. He's that short, stocky, muscular, explosive, knock someone's head off. Like, that's the kind of person Lusa is, and I love his fighting style. So I'm very, very surprised to see him as big of an underdog as he is. He can end the fight with a single shot at any point in time. He stays heavy on his feet. He explodes, and everything he throws is with killer intentions. I've seen him get in scrambles. I've seen him get back up to his feet. The only problem for me with Anj is that he slows down. He's another one of these muscle monsters that takes oxygen. You got all that power. You got all that muscle. It takes oxygen, and you get tired. So if this fight goes on, I do think that Jack will be able to take over with the grappling, but Anj is open for that knockout, that home run finish at any point in time. It looks like money's coming in on Anj. He opened up plus 130. He's down to about even money in some places. So there's a couple books still hanging that plus 130 out there. So if you're on the Anj side of things, it does look like he is taking cash at this point if you can get your hands on that plus 130. I might be tempted because look at that market move. It looks like he's getting some love here. Minus 150 on Jack. Like I said, I kind of expect Jack to grind and grapple his way through this thing, but I love that knockout, man. I love that killer home run finish a guy like Anj can bring to the table. So I'd be looking dog or pass here in this spot. I don't really want to lay money against a fighter that's capable of what someone like Lusa is, but at the same time, Jack is a legit fighter. Jack is a fighter that I want to back. Jack is a fighter I would feel comfortable putting my money on. He's got a very, very good style. So I'm a little bit torn on this one. Probably another pass for me here in this particular spot. The next fight up, however, I do have a little bit of action on, and I did go ahead and already tweet out this action earlier. Lucas Britsky taking on Dylan Potter. This is a mismatch, folks. I'm surprised. I am incredibly surprised that there hasn't been more love and attention on this particular fight because I don't understand how Potter wins this fight. We've got my guy Lucas, who is maybe the future legendary Polish power of the UFC, opened up about minus 250, and now he's finally getting some love, bet down to minus 300. He's hitting minus 340 in some places, but this line didn't move for a very, very long time. Dylan Potter plus 200, now about plus 250, the underdog, and I expected this line to get a whole lot wider than it actually did. Lucas is big. He is huge for this division. Light on his feet, controls the range extremely well, long jab. He's got hard low kicks. He's a matador. He strikes well moving backwards when his opponents come in and pressure him. High volume, lots of trips. He mixes in a lot of different interesting ways to get the takedown. He's constantly working. It's just he never gives you a break. Dylan Potter is a kid that trains with Ed Herman. So he fights a lot like Short Fuse, and it's very awkward. Awkward movement, awkward striking, in and out. He's got decent step in, knees and elbows, but he's kind of a one and done guy. He comes in and fires off one shot at a time, and he is another fighter that gets stuck on his back. This guy goes for the takedown, gets reversed, gets swept, gets taken down, gets stuck there. He's got 7 wins by submission, so he looks for that ground game, but it's almost kind of a double-edged sword there for him. He's only got 2 fights that went to decision, and he's lost both of those. And in one of his losses, he got worked, absolutely worked by an 18-8 fighter who lost to Fabio Charant, the guy that we have seen just get absolutely booted from the UFC. His style is not at all pleasing to the eye. And his last win was over a 1-7 fighter. I'm calling Potter as a fraud essentially at this point. Like, I don't mean to upset anybody. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but like, I just don't think this kid is UFC caliber. I don't understand where his win condition is in this particular fight. I don't think he's got a path to victory in this spot. I've got Lucas in a parlay, and I am parlaying him with somebody that's very popular this week, a little further on down the card. Last time UFC Contender Series, I tried a parlay and it blew up on me. The leg that I was more confident of the two in is the one that, crashed and burned, which in Contender Series, you always got to expect that kind of thing is going to happen. So hopefully not this week. Hopefully we go ahead and cash the parlay this week. But I think, touchdown Raiders, really, Daniel? Don't tell me that. I'm on the Ravens. All right. I'm going to move through this thing relatively quickly. Let's do a like check, though, shall we? Let's do a like check. See where we're at. 191. 191, folks. We need 9 more likes. 9 more likes. Come on, we can do it. We can get there. Albert Duraev taking on Cal Bittencourt. I'm sure I'm butchering both of those names. As much as I'm trying to buy you guys time to get me some likes, I don't want to spend a lot of time breaking down this fight. This fight, I don't even understand what is going on with this fight. Neither of these guys has fought in forever. Neither of them has fought since 2018. So multi-year layoffs for both of these fighters stepping in here into the Contender Series. So anything we know about these fighters is probably wrong. And don't put your money on it unless you've got insider info, because how could you possibly know what either of these guys are up to since they haven't shown us anything in the last 3 years? From what I can tell, Duraev heavy on the feet, constant pressure fighter. He seems like the more active, more volume guy, good back control, floats on top well. I like what I see from Duraev. Cal, on the other hand, he only had one fight in 2017 on top of not fighting since 2018. So, like, just really inactive. Fought a terrible level of competition, including an 0-4 and a 4-10 guy. Hard to find tape on this guy, but he's got sharp hands, decent power, and all early finishes. He started 1-4 in his UFC or his MMA career and somehow managed to turn that around. So good on him for sticking with it, digging deep and getting there. But I think he's got a cap ceiling. I don't think he's anything special. I think Duraev is at the side here. I absolutely think if you're going to play a side, that would be the way to go. But I'm not laying minus 300, minus 350 on a fighter that has not fought in 3 years. I think he's also a little bit smaller. So there's a lot of questions here. Don't bet this fight. I would not suggest betting this fight. Everyone likes to do the chalky parlays for the Contender Series. Don't touch this one. And I see the comments going off in the chat. We have hit 200 likes. We got giveaways, folks. That's right. You heard me. We talked to the boss man, Slaughter. Make sure you hit him up on Twitter and thank him for the opportunity, because we have got 3 giveaways, $100 a pop for the die-hard MMA faithful. So thank you all so much for sticking with me. You dug deep. You got the word out. You absolutely deserve it. You degenerates. You've been with me with all the love and support for so long. I absolutely love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for everything, you guys. I really appreciate it. So let's go. Let's go ahead and get these giveaways done here. We've been harping on it for so long, working on it so hard. Let's get these things out here. So I've got 3 to go ahead and give away here. And I'm looking back here and seeing what we got, because I got this is pretty big, right? Like, we got $100 for 3 people out here giving the love and support. All right. Toby, my friend, you got it. You've been one of the OGs. You've been hanging out here. You're here with us weekly. So, Toby, you are the first winner of our $100 giveaway. We will go ahead and make a note of that. You probably want to make sure you've got a Twitter account. I'm not sure how the boss man gives these $100 away. It might just be like PayPal, Venmo, or something like that, but it might be a credit through YouTube. I'm not sure how he pulls it off. But we absolutely want to make sure that we get that cleared up with Sergeant Slaughter over there. I don't know why I call him Sergeant Slaughter. It just sticks in my head. It works. Thank you very much, Toby, for all the love and support, man. You're a good one. So there you go. All right. What I'm going to do, I went ahead and picked you out there, man. I'm going to... the second giveaway goes to my guy, Austin Greensland. 100 years, Die Hard MMA. 100 years. Yes, for making me laugh hysterically in the middle of what I was talking about. I'm going to go ahead and pick Austin as my second winner here. Austin, buddy, thank you very much. If you guys don't get the reference, you better go watch Rick and Morty. That's a good one. That's a good one. Much deserved, Austin. And for the final giveaway, I'm going to do the t-shirt style, everybody. Get in the comments. Everybody, comment 100. Comment $100 because I'm going to cover my eyes and I'm going to scroll this thing around, and the last giveaway is going to go completely random. Going to be completely random. So go ahead, get in there, spam the chat with $100, $100, $100. We will spin the wheel of fate, and you can't see. Joshua Eichholz, I am sorry for butchering your name, my friend, but thank you so much for watching the Die Hard MMA podcast with us this evening. Congratulations, my friend. You have won your $100 giveaway here on the show tonight. Thank you all very, very much. You guys are the best. You really are. I'm so happy and so proud to be a member here at Pub Sports Radio. We're doing such awesome things. Having a guy like Slaughter at the wheel that just loves what we're doing this thing as a passion project, giving back to the people who support us on a constant basis. Like, it doesn't get better than this, guys. It doesn't get better than this. And you all know, if you've been with me for a while, I'm all about the positivity. I'm all about giving back, giving away free shit. So, like, I fit in here at Pub, and these are just great people. Pub's just good people. So do us a favor, support the show with a subscription, with a like if you haven't already. Thank you guys for making this possible. We got to 100, and I'm so happy we were able to get to 100 and give those things away. I do want to finish breaking down the Dana White's Contender Series card here. We've got just a couple more fights to get through. Bear with me. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm thirsty. I want to go watch Monday Night Football, but I am grinding for you guys. Let's get through these last couple fights here. All right. So the next fight up is the one closing out our parlay. We've got Mo Miller taking on Brandon Lewis. Now, Mo Miller is the favorite spot for everybody this week, and that makes me a little scared. It makes me a little nervous because every time someone shits the bed, it's the one none of us see coming, and the entire market loves this kid. He's now like a minus 400, minus 500 favorite, and that line just continues to get steamed up. Extremely athletic, fast, and explosive. This kid can wrestle his ass off. Extremely high-level wrestling, quick, explosive level changes, and he's able to just airmail people. If you haven't seen Mo Miller's highlight reel, go search for this kid on YouTube, because seriously, he like throws people up over his head and slams them to the mat right on their face. He's got one knockout that's nearly a slam KO. I love this kid. I absolutely love Miller. I think he's going to be a monster. Brandon Lewis, I like everything I see from Brandon Lewis, and that's kind of the problem here. He fights long. He attacks that low calf hard, which could be a problem if he's able to keep this fight standing. He bites down on that mouthpiece, and he swings for the fences. He is the perfect Dana White Contender Series fighter. He keeps a high pace, and man, the only thing I kept thinking watching this is, what if he can't kick? Because if he gets put on his back and he can't kick, he's out of this fight. Mo Miller closes out my parlay. I think I got minus 130 because I got on it a little bit earlier in the week. So trying hard not to get overly disrespectful of Brandon Lewis, because I really like that kid's skill set. And I do think that we give him a little bit of time to grow and improve. Maybe he takes an L tomorrow and then comes back better and makes it to the UFC in his next little run, because I do think that he's going to do that. Parker, no sweat. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And thank you for the kind words about the show. Really appreciate you and the OGs that support me every single week. Main event time, guys. Let's fire through this last one real quick here so everyone can get out of here. We've got Jelton Almeida taking on Nasruddin Nasruddinov, which it drives me nuts when these guys' first names and their last names are the same. This is another one with very, very serious questions. I really like everything I've seen from Jelton, and shout out again to my guy Rockstar Z I know he tunes into the show sometimes. He's already got an underdog bet here. But for me, it's a little bit of a blind dart. He stayed busy all through 2021 with grappling matches. He's a high-level black belt. If you look at his Instagram, this guy is a brick shithouse. He is a power lifter and incredibly strong, which pairs extremely well with grappling. Let me tell you, stupid strong, this guy. And he trains with Carlos boy Felipe, so you know he's working with some decent striking, some high-level boxers. So I like to see everything I've seen from him, but it was really hard to find footage of his fighting. Like, I know how good he is on the mat, but I don't have any idea how good his all-around MMA game is. Nasruddin, this kid moves well. Lots of feints, keeps you off balance on the feet. He's got a stinging right hand, and he's another guy that can play the matador. He's another guy that can move back, counter, reverse, willing to grind, explosive double leg takedowns, and he's your classic Russian. He wants to lock you down with that body lock. He wants to stay heavy on top of you. He wants to ground and pound you out. I mean, he is no joke. Nasruddin is a legit Russian grappler, and those are always dangerous. So we've got a 9-0 undefeated Russian taking on a 13-2 BJJ guy. And you guys, I've talked about it before, wrestling beats BJJ. When it's too high level, when they're both strong, when it's relatively equal, the BJJ guy accepts bottom position, the wrestler does not, and then the wrestler wins minutes. That's how this works. But Jelton is incredibly strong, and we know nothing about him on the feet. So there's a bit of a wild card element there. I kind of wish I could bet Jelton, but I don't have enough information to do so, unfortunately. So I'm not able to do that. I wish I could. I'm going to say Nasruddin wins this thing, but I'm not going to touch this one from a betting perspective because I'm kind of high on Jelton for almost no reason. So there you have it, folks. I will recap here just real quick my plays. I've got the parlay for Dana White Contender Series tomorrow. It's Lucas with Mo Miller, -130. That price is not going to be the same if you make that parlay now. The favorites always get chalked and steamed up on Dana White's Contender Series. And I've already got a bunch of plays for this fight card on Saturday. I'm loving this fight card. There's a lot of fun spots. Heili Alateng, -125 for 2.5 units. That one could bite me in the ass. You know I love my Gustavo. Dakota Bush, -130. Laid the price 1.3 units to win one. I got Nate Maness as a dog, +170. If that line gets better, maybe I hit it again. Probably going to take that round 3 or the inside the distance for a sprinkle taste later as well. Raquel Pennington, 1.3 units at -130. I'm actually tempted to go harder there. I think this is a buy low spot on Raquel, very similar to how we got the buy low spot on Holly Holm earlier. And then I do have Ariane Lipski, -120, 1.2 units to win one. Dangerous spot. Maybe shouldn't bet Lipski, but I also think it's a buy low spot for her there. Great show tonight. Thank you all so much for jumping and supporting. We went super long tonight. We had a super awesome guest in Ev. He was fun to have on the show. I'd love to get him back here sometime. Make sure you guys just shower him with love and support after the show. I always put my thank you tweet out there. So do me a favor and make sure he knows we appreciated him coming on the show. Congrats to our winners. And just thank you guys for being the best. I know every once in a while we get some trolls, we get some spam. You guys are always good sports about it. We always do nothing but love each other and talk fights and try to win money. So let's just do that. Let's win some money. Good luck on all your degenerate action, everybody. I'm going to go eat dinner and watch some damn football. Let's roll. We'll see you guys later.